That great welcome from Shariful, our colleague who'll be leading the first panel today. And he's absolutely right. I think talking about eradication and welcoming everyone to the Asia Regional Forum is of such great importance, especially because we know that we've made it to our third day. We're talking now about the third pillar. We're really looking at the importance today of eradication. I think I betrayed my bias yesterday about the importance of exposition and getting the message out there, doing the research, getting the information, and that's really complemented by the work of our first day talking about empowerment, so that once the information's found, do the networks and other things exist to help actually make those changes possible through survivor leadership, legal empowerment, and many other inroads. So today, as my colleague started mentioning, we're going to be looking at the importance of eradication. Now, eradication really follows several key components. I mean, without all of these other pieces, eradication becomes much more difficult, if not impossible. But today, our first panel, and I'll introduce that in a second, we'll be focusing on strengthening legislation. Then we'll go into a second panel on international collaboration. And as you all know, I'm one of the pioneers of global measurement in modern slavery. I worked on the global estimates of modern slavery and the Global Slavery Index. And I can speak firsthand on the importance of international collaboration, especially with UN bodies, and how much gravitas that gave to our research and all of our efforts, and also pooling resources to not duplicate efforts was really important. So I'm very much looking forward to that panel. And then we'll have a case study on successful cross-border rescue and repatriation. I do need to say that the panels, and especially the case studies in our online forum so far, have just been so compelling. The case studies have really given us the ability to dive deep into some of these examples, and we've heard from lawmakers and other NGO leaders about some of the work that they've done, and it's been very powerful so far. So very much looking forward to that. And then we'll also end with a panel on community mobilization and long-term rehabilitation before we get into our closing remarks by one of our survivor leaders. So we're looking for a really powerful day to close out this forum. And now onto one of my favorite components. We've got my colleague Shariful Islam Hassan that I'll be introducing in just one second for the first panel. But housekeeping notes, you have our comment section here. Please feel free to introduce yourself. There's a Q&A section here where you can add in questions, and our colleagues will be getting those to the speakers and moderators. And for those of you joining us on YouTube Live, please feel free to add your comments and questions into that comment stream as well, and we'll be doing our best to move those over. Also, my colleague, Dr. Giselle Balfour, will be helping to step in with introducing the second, third, and fourth panels and our case study and final speaker. So after this introduction, I'll actually be stepping offline for a bit, but you're in amazing hands with the women who leads me through a lot of these forums as well. So Dr. Balfour will also be here to help lead us through the rest of this forum. So thank you all. And with that, it is time to finally introduce our colleague Shariful. So he's joining us from Bangladesh. Sorry, no, you're currently in Pakistan, but you lead the program in Bangladesh, Shariful. Because I think we were just talking about Pakistan.
Oh, no, it's in Bangladesh. So based
Oh,
in Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Great, great. So Shariful is currently in Bangladesh. He's the head of the migration program for BRAC. He's had over 20 years of experience in migration, reintegration, and the Anti-Trafficking Center. BRAC is the world's largest non-governmental organization, and he really works to use rigorous advocacy and evidence to ensure the rights of migrant workers and their families are protected from the grassroots level to the policy level. BRAC has really developed and flourished underneath his leadership and has supported nearly 35,000 migrants and survivors. So he's really walking the walk between our first day's efforts of empowerment and building those networks to now to yesterday's focus on exposition and research and finding the best tools to now today actually eradicating modern slavery. And what's even more amazing about his background is that he was actually a journalist and did a lot of investigative reporting And he's a member of the thematic group for migration, migrants, workers' rights, and anti-trafficking for the National Human Rights Commission of Bangladesh. And as someone who does a lot of media interaction with on the issue of modern slavery, I just want to thank you for your work there as well, because that's such a critical connection piece, as we discussed yesterday, in terms of media and storytelling, and how do we kind of get that narrative accurate and also out there. So with that, over to you, Shariful. Thank you all. Welcome.
Thank you, Durgana. So this is Bangla word Durga who saves all. I think so you are a savior, unlike us who have joined today. I think so all are a savior for people. So let's go to the panel. Today we have a strong four discussion, and among them Eugenio Gonzalez. He is the chief of party from USAID. I think so all of you know that USAID and their especially the CTVP programs, they're doing a lot. So we have Adrian Pereira, they are trying to do a lot of good works in Malaysia through their organization North-South Initiative. He is the executive director there. We have Purnota, full. I think Asia has many of the languages are very common. So the executive director Purnota Abu Vajri, he has joined with us, and the executive director of People Forum for Human Rights, Shom Little, he has joined with us. I think it will really be a live and discussions. At the same time, if you have any comments, questions, you can share in the comment. I think if you discuss what are the first your organization, what you are doing, how you are helping on combating modern day slavery, how especially the eradication section, the key elements, the challenges, and also how we can make a collaboration wherever we are through online, different parts of world. From me is good morning, some words good evening. But I think if you really can make collaborations, can really make a good world. So let's go to the discussion here that how we can do this, all of the things. So first I will request Yugano if you share your experience, thoughts and other things on the issues of modern slavery. So it's your floor, Yugano.
Me? Are you calling on me? It wasn't very clear. Okay, thank you. My name is Eugenio Gonzalez, Chief of Party of the Strength City Project. And before I start, I say a big shout out to all the people from Cagayan de Oro who are partners of our partner from 2020 to 2022, Palaod. I think they mobilized a battalion of youth to attend this seminar, this webinar. So let me just share our organization and our work. So wait, let me just share my screen. So this is the topic that was given, but through this I will show also, I will introduce our organization, which is just the traditional disclaimer here from USAID. Our organization is called PDAP, and our project is Strength City. And our strategy is together in partnership to counter trafficking in persons. And we work from the national to the regional to the provincial to the municipal up to the village level. We also partner with local governments, local NGOs, and the private sector. We worked in 9 regions, including the hotspots of human trafficking in the Philippines for labor trafficking, OSAEC, and other forms of trafficking in persons. I won't go through this, just to show you some numbers on which show the prevalence of OSAEC, CSAM, and labor trafficking and what makes our country vulnerable to this. We send 2 million overseas Filipino workers every year who are vulnerable to labor trafficking. And we are unfortunately one of the highest source and one of the biggest sources of OSAEC and CSAM material in the world. In spite of this, the country has maintained the Tier 1 ranking in the US State Department report for the last 9 years. And we believe that trafficking in persons legislation and enforcement may have significantly contributed to this Tier 1 ranking. But of course, there are challenges still facing us. In terms of legislation, we've had three anti-trafficking in persons acts or laws for the last 2 decades. And in addition, we also have an anti-OSAIC and anti-CSIM act enacted in 2022. Overall responsibility rests on a multi-agency body, and that's why we work with multiple agencies and sectors. And all of these multi-agency bodies have NGO members, three NGO members from the national to the regional, down to the provincial and local levels. So this is the scope when we talk about human trafficking as far as the legislation is concerned. Labor trafficking, OSAIC, sexual exploitation, death bondage, including organ trafficking and child soldiers. We believe that, or we all know that trafficking starts in the village level. Therefore, we act locally. So all human trafficking laws require actually additional local legislation at the what we call the local government unit or LGU level. So at the regional level, there are regional interagency councils against trafficking that's in 17 regions, and there are similar bodies in the provincial, municipal, down to the village level. And just to show you, as my last slide, from a Sin City, they have enacted a local ordinance that protects victim survivors as well as provides funds to prevent human trafficking and CSIM OSAIC in their specific city, that is the Olongapo city. So we look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I know just completing within 6 times, I think it's a very good thing. And also you have shared your experience from grassroots level to regional level. So now let's hear from our next panelist, who is Adriana Pereira. He's working in Malaysia. So I will hear his experiences.
Yeah. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. My name is Adrian Pereira. I run an NGO called North-South Initiative, and it's an organization that is not project-driven. So when we are not project-driven, there are pros and cons. Of course, when it comes to pros, we have a little bit more flexibility in diving into the complexities of eradicating modern-day slavery, but the cons is then the funding may not be there for comprehensive solutions. So that is my disclaimer, right? In terms of the types of cases we have handled, there are some that are very global and committed by organized crime. And then at the other end, there are some that are done by small actors, maybe a small agent, a small migrant worker who has taken some recruitment fee and exploited some workers. So there's a whole range of degrees of the severity and complexities of the trafficking. In terms of partnerships, partnerships are important. But there's 3 things I want to highlight that I think we need to have a bit more honest conversation. So number 1 is a lot of the solutions are still driven by the North, the global North. So it's either the donors, and it's not just about funding. It's about setting the agenda and the type of solution. So our dilemma is, how do you balance this? Okay, we depend on funds from the global North, but at the same time, the workers or the survivors, including their families, may have a different need. So as the NGO in between, we need to find a way how to balance this. And of course, bring back the power back to the Global South. But we have also seen actors in Global South who act and behave like they are Global North people. And this is something that, there's a lot of ethical questions and need to really decolonize. My second point is on the do no harm or duty of care. So when we are trying to eradicate this, there's so many actors involved, and we need to make sure that there's an equitable relationship among all actors that can ensure harm is not done, or the duty of care is done properly. So what we have seen is certain lapses. There have been breaks breaks in the referral system, for example, that may have put workers at harm, and we shouldn't take for granted. So, for example, in Malaysia, if I reach out to a partner in Nepal or Bangladesh, if the relationship is good and there's a certain safeguards that would not do harm or ensure duty of care, we actually have a higher quality of or higher opportunity to eradicate the forced labor involved. Yeah, so I think those kind of safeguards should be in place and not taken for granted. My last point or intervention would be on how much do we make available to share and not reinvent the wheel. So there are many case studies. There are some that are in the global north, global south, on eradicating human trafficking and modern day slavery. But I remember when we were solving, I helped rescue 2 Malaysians who were in Myanmar and the Thailand border, and also the Cambodia jobs camp centers. And I noticed that there was a lot of incompetencies, not just among the NGOs, but also in the public servants. And I think these incompetencies should be addressed in open dialogue, because, or you can say lack of skill. Yeah, for me, it looked like incompetency. And for me, the big question is why, after so many years of funding going to all these countries, you see that even basic mistakes were made. So as traffickers become more sophisticated and more levels of corruption in the government, some solutions are a bit more difficult, and all the more this honest conversation should come to the surface. And coming from Malaysia, which is a upper middle developing country, I don't think definitely there's no way with 3 to 4 million migrants workers here that we have the resource to combat human trafficking. So the challenge to my partners, I know some of you know me, we have worked together, and I've also told you, if all the donors from the north want to dump money on your countries, that is your country of origin. A big percent of the mess is also in the country of destination. But because I'm an upper middle developed income country, I don't get the resource to do my work. So then the solutions are half-baked. And we actually put workers in more harm if we don't have proper resource. So these are my 3 points. I hope that we can continue strengthening partnerships, developing second liners, third liners who are competent, those who are, and also partnerships that are sincere and not dependent on donor-driven agendas, because it's not holistic solutions. Yeah, thank you for now.
Thank you, Adrian. You have really bring in a different point. Always the development issues come, then fundings and projects comes. I think that most of the times we look funding, not the causes. I think first we look should the causes. So thank you. I think we can discuss this, how we can work together. So now I will go to India. I think it's really an important country. Many of the organization is working there. So I will request Abu. He is the executive director of Purnata. I think he can share his experience. Hello, Abu, you're there? Yeah, you can hear you.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, and I didn't realize I was off. Yeah. So I said morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever we are. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. Briefly, let me just introduce Purnata. Purnata exists to address root causes of human trafficking and bring systemic change through a comprehensive strategy, especially that is a prevention strategy. So we have we do rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration, but our focus is prevention, and our prevention strategy encompasses source, transit, and destination. So a perceived outcome that we would like to see is, sorry, a perceived outcome we would like to see is a decrease in the vulnerability of potential victims of human trafficking in source areas, and increase in risk to traffickers along trafficking routes, and how we can see decrease in the demand for trafficked goods and services at destination. When it comes to the legal frameworks, and especially when it comes to the strengthening legislation, we don't have lawyers in house, but we have partnered with other agencies like Justice Ventures International, and we have seen that that has worked very well. We work closely with the District Legal Service Authority (DLSA), and we also work with the Pro Bono group, and we've kind of through which we've had a lot of legal support, and we've ensured that traffickers are not going unpunished. And yeah, so starting July 1st, the Indian government has redone, or rather reintroduced 3 new laws. Criminal laws have been changed from the traditional ITP, Indian Penal Code, and the Code of Criminal Procedure, and also the Indian Evidence Act. They've been changed, and now there are 3 new laws that have been come out: the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, and the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhinayam. So these are just 3 different the ones that are brought there, because the Indian laws were all colonial and very archaic, and so they needed updating, and so the government has taken the effort to do that. And these have been approved, and the focus is on giving justice, not punishment. So this is basically where the legal framework in India is right now. And we have seen that we relentlessly work on the issue of prevention. And we've seen through, though we do rescue, rehabilitation, and reintegration, we have seen that our strategy in the source area to reduce vulnerability, and our focus on the destination where we want to bring about the reduction in demand is very useful, and we found it to be effective. Also, want to say that one of the things that I believe is very strong and very important is to be able to have stronger and stricter laws and implementation of laws based on targeting consumers of traffic goods and services, and especially in terms when it comes to sex trafficking. I believe that when the buyers of sex are punished rather than the sellers of sex, I feel there is going to be stronger and more effective measures that will help prevent trafficking. So I think that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Abuz. I think you have picked one point: implementation of laws. In Asian countries, especially South Asian countries, we have many good laws, but the implementation is really a problem. So we can discuss this later more. So now I'm requesting Shom Luitel. He is the executive director of People from Forum for Human Rights. So Shom, if you can share your thoughts.
Thank you. My name is Shom Luitel. By profession, I am lawyer. I represent People Forum for Human Rights. It's a lawyers organization. We work for promotion of human rights of people. And
Somehow, if you want to on your video, I think if you don't have any problem, yes, now you can see.
okay. Since 15 years, we have focusing our work on labor migration issue. And if you look at the labor migration situation of Nepal, more than 6 million people working in our world. In the last year alone, there were about 1 million migrant workers left the country. And 76 Nepali households received the remittance. This is very huge in terms of contribution in GDP and in terms of population involved in foreign labor migration. And we are having Foreign Employment Act. We are also having anti-trafficking law related to forced labor, and we are also having good institutional mechanism like committee, center level committee, and district level committee to control the human trafficking. And we are also having anti-human trafficking bureau within the police. We are having foreign employment department, foreign employment welfare fund, foreign employment tribunal. This is the special tribunal only deal with foreign employment cases. And we are also party of major human rights convention, including Palermo Protocol and Forcible Convention. We also ratified those. And if you look at the law, policy, and international mechanism, we are in a good position. But despite those instrument and institutional mechanism, Nepali migrant workers have been facing many difficulties and exploitation, including forced labor and trafficking. And other problem like death in our place, non-paid of salary, wage theft, rescue and repatriation. There are many issues. In that context, people forum work for promotion of rights of migrant workers. Our main activity area is free legal assistance to migrant workers. We have provided more than 36,000 Nepali workers free legal assistance to them, and it's include counseling to represent in the court cases. And another area is advocacy for rights of migrant worker. We include local level advocacy, national level advocacy, and international level advocacy. We contributed for GCM, GFMD, Colombo process, and Abu Dhabi dialogue, like regional consultative process. And another area is the legal empowerment. We target many groups for legal empowerment, capacity development of government official, non-government official, worker, media people, judicial official, pro bono lawyer, and we also conduct paralegal training, and we mobilize paralegal for awareness program. Similarly, another area is filing public interest litigation cases in Supreme Court. Until we have filed 12 public interest litigation cases in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has given very good directive order to the Nepal government. And similarly, beside other organizations, I hope that we also provide technical assistance to the government. We provide technical assistance to the government in formulating law, policy, and bilateral labor agreement. And in that way, we are working, and we are also got UN consultative status, ECOSOS consultative status, and we are also part of one of the workish team member of UN Network on Migration. In that way, we are working, and major challenge are there are many cross-cutting issues. Um, if you look at the labor migrant, they are exploited, they face many difficulties, but there are other regimes like they fall into the situation of forced labor, some fall into the trafficking situation. There is smuggling of migrants also becoming very huge issue. Maybe later on I'll discuss on that. I stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Shom, for your discussion. I think you are probably the one who is a lawyer, so I have some specific question to you. So at the same time, audience, if you have any specific questions, you can write the questions there. We can ask the panelist. And I think as many of you are hearing that this session's focus is legislative framework for eradicating modern slavery. So my specific questions to all the panelists that what are the basic things you feel should be the key elements that should be in the legislative framework, and also the enforcement mechanism, especially the implementation is really a challenge. So what can you do on these 2 points? So as the last panelist, I will ask Shom, if as you are a lawyer, so what do you think that the key elements should be in the legislative framework for this combating modern slavery, if you answer?
First of all, there should be the clarity on definition of crime, how the legislation define the crime. Like there are associate crime also. like foreign employment fraud, trafficking, and forced labor. And similarly, some of the jurisdictions do not define human smuggling. So definition of crime and put a appropriate panel provision in the law is the very crucial thing. And second one is law itself do not work. We
Exactly.
need to implement the law in
Yes.
practice. To implement a law in a practice, there are basically two important area. We need to empower law enforcement agency. Law enforcement agency willing to do that. They should have political commitment to implement those laws, and we also need to capacitate them. And another area is we need to capacitate to the victim or beneficiary or client, because without filing FIR or any application, the legal system do not work. So before filing that anything complaint, I say complaint, the citizen or the possible justice seeker should know what is their right and where they can go. There is a limitation also. There is jurisdictional issue also. So where would they can go and how they can get those remedy. So legal empowerment is very essential to enter any type of problem into the court. So in this time, I basically highlight three things. We need good law. In a sense, good is it is appropriate to protect the right of
Yes.
target group. Second one is there should be good law enforcement agency. That means that is committed less without corruption and with resources. And third area is empowerment of trafficking survivor or migrant worker, something like that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I was watching a questions from the panel. Somebody, Mr. Mohammed Shadjar, he was saying that he's a construction company worker in UAE, and he was asking that how we can prevent recruitment fee payments from the home country and how to reimburse that amount to workers when they don't have any proof of payment. I think it's really an important point. So as I will go to the Philippine cases, I think Philippines has very good example to protect their workers' rights and other. So Johanno, so if you can share your experience that how you really ensure the safeguarding of the workers in legislative way, and especially I think in South Asia, Philippines is a good example. So what are your suggestions or thoughts on especially on these issues, Johanno?
Well, we have a department, the whole government department for migrant workers, and they and their partner NGOs inform potential migrants about the rules and regulations on recruitment fees, because some jobs can have legal recruitment fees and some should not. Some recruiters for specific jobs cannot charge recruitment fees. So it is important to inform the public about these rules, and that's why laws, legislation, rules are very important, or our knowledge of rules is what will empower us. So it's both the government as well as NGOs to inform the public up to the village level. Of course, this has to be a continuing drive about the laws on charging or not of recruitment fees. So I suggest that the one who asks the question study or find out what the rules are. That's the first step.
Yeah. Thank you. Abu, I think that my question to you, or that the other audience can also ask. So India is one of the top countries where they are facing a lots of travelers on modern slavery, especially as India has a lots of states and other different things. So how can you share some good examples, Abu, that you are working, so or some different states have some example in legislative way to eradicate modern day slavery, or on your thoughts that what you really can do the other countries, Abu?
So when we have what we have seen is we focus, as I said, on source, transit, and destination. So in these source areas, we've identified this in the first year when we started by doing a study of women who were trafficked and kept in the shelter homes in Mumbai. And from there, we've identified that 60% were coming from Kolkata, from West Bengal. And then
Yeah.
60 those from West Bengal were coming from a district called North 24 Parganas. Not that they are not being trafficked to other places, but the ones who were trafficked to Mumbai and is rescued. Even in the red light districts where we work, we find that the good majority of them are from Bengal. And
Yes.
Bengal, just West Bengal, they come from Bangladesh also, a good number of them. So, and but they do not claim to be from there because they've come illegally, so they will not say that. And so a lot of cases when in the red light area we have where the police do raids very late in the night and they pick up those from Bangladesh and they are kept in the jail. And then they kept for 2, 3 months and then they are reduced off on a bail. And a lot of these cases keep coming up where and so we have also started a legal aid clinic in our center in the red light district so that the women can come with their issues and cases that they have. And there's a lawyer appointed by the District Legal Services Authority who sits there and helps them with those cases. Apart from that, we also have worked with JVI Justice Ventures International, who have been a good partner with us in these cases. So we had a rescue of a girl from Bangladesh who was only 12-year-old, who was come with her mother, and the mother was trafficked into a red light area, and the child was taken separately. After a lot of brutal experience she went through, the child, she was sold in Delhi. And then from Delhi, we couldn't trace her. 4 years later, the mother came to us and we were able to do an operation that lasted 6 months and worked with Mumbai police, with Delhi police, and also with the Bareilly police. And we were able to finally get her rescued from Bareilly after 6 months. In other words, and then the perpetrators have been in jail, and we've been able to maintain the help of the lawyers and the courts to be able to keep them in jail without a bail, and that punishment is the strictest that we could give. So, but the case is still going on. And the sad thing is sometimes the cases drag on for 5 to 7 years. And when perpetrators are let out, they continue doing what they are on bail. They continue doing the same thing and perpetrate the issue. So it's not very easy. It's a very tricky thing. Sometimes then the courts are either corrupt, or there's one case right now in Mumbai of a survivor whom we have helped, and her case is dragged for 3 years right now. Her daughter has been repatriated back to Bangladesh, but she is not yet, because every time once the COVID came and once the COVID got over, then the one judge came, and when he got understood the case, and finally before he could give a verdict, he was transferred. So another judge came, then he took time to understand the case, and so the case has been dragging on. And so, yeah, justice is not always very quick and easy, but we have to persevere, and we've seen that it helps. And I believe that more we can, I believe we should have a database of traffickers in our country and across countries and across cities and states. And we should be able to have a database of, and there should be stricter measures the government can take against these people to make it really understand that it is not as simple and not as easy to traffic and get away with it.
Thank you, Abu. I think the traffickers, the way they are connected, they are motivated. The peoples or the organizations we do, or even our governments, we don't have database. The same traffickers are doing again and again. Especially, I was visiting many of the Indian organizations and police and others. But the Bangladeshi police and court says, you saw that a large number of red districts also go from Bangladesh. When she is repatriated, the court said that we don't have any proper documents, and even she is rescued, the police documents, nothing's there. So I asked one IGP of police in Assam, and he said this is really problem not for Bangladesh. Also in India, different states, we don't sometimes get the proper papers and others. So I think in that point, do you have any suggestions or anything, Abu?
See, I feel the people who come from Bangladesh and other countries, they don't have a problem, especially they stay in Bengal in certain places for a month or two. They get all their documentation. And I know of a girl from Bangladesh who's got her birth certificate done from India. Now,
Yeah.
all these documentation is possible. PAN card, Aadhaar card is being done in India. And so there's a lot of loopholes in the system because of which it is easy to be corrupt and do these things. And so that makes it difficult when you take a Bangladeshi woman and you try to prove, she says, I've got Aadhaar card, PAN card. But then for me, I understand Bengali. So when I listen to their Bengali, I can understand that they are from Bangladesh because of the accent. And so talking to them, like we have to help them understand that we are trying to help you. We don't want to see you are a victim. So we can
Yeah.
help you through a smooth process of repatriation. But many of them don't want to stay in the government shelter home. So they don't, say they lie and all those things happen. But
Yeah.
yes, able to help many of them. So quite a lot of repatriation we have done in the past to Bangladesh. Yes.
Thank you, Awa. There is a question from Kimberly Banjao. I think that question is also mine. So this question is that what are the most effective measures to prevent and address the exploitation of migrant workers who are charged exploitation employment fees by unscrupulous recruitment agencies, and how can international regulation be strengthened? I think the really important question, Kimberly, especially for the Malaysia, as here Adrian is there. Many of the workers from Nepal and from Bangladesh, they go to Malaysia and they are charged high. And then they didn't get proper work, they don't get regular salary, become undocumented. And years after years, the bad practices been happening in, especially in Malaysia. So on that ground, as Adriana, you are with us. So can you share that what really you can do as a sending country and also as a receiving country? What's your suggestion to reduce this uh, such exploitation, Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, the debate on the fair recruitment processes and the recruitment fees is important because it has put workers in debt bondage. We have seen that. And once they come to Malaysia, it's they have to work extra hours, longer hours to pay back some of the loans. But the way, even though there's industry standards, there's ILO standards on the topic, the reality is how the recruitment fee is collected is become very sophisticated. There are even non-cash manners or methods which the money is taken from the workers, and including the involvement of human resource managers or officers who also help to collect in whatever form, whether it's in the form of a loan or in different creative names. So that's real. I don't pretend we have the answer, but from the supply chain perspective, there are efforts, a lot of efforts that of brainstorming with workers' organizations, brainstorming with grassroots organizations. How do you ensure that the middleman or the sub agents are held accountable, including dalals and all kinds of actors that are very intelligent. Some of them are linked to very powerful politicians. So you know that there is a corruption in a systematic or a system manner that is preventing the solution from being solved. So the current solutions like remediation, interview the workers, give back the money, those are not structural solutions. Those are just temporary to help the worker get back the money. But a lot more effort needs to be done. And for 30, 40 years, the practice has been there. Okay, some portion of the money has to go for corruption in both sides of the border. So it's a systemic thing. How do you stop that? From a business perspective, the different actors need to know and be honest about the business model and whether it works or not. Because if it doesn't work, then you, as an agent or as a sub-agent, you should exit the business, or as a labor supplier, you should exit the business. But if you still continue to collect recruitment fee, then this problem is going to continue. So hopefully we can get wisdom from everyone in the forum to help us understand what are the solutions here. Personally, I think if you use a carrot and stick approach, right? What is the incentives for all this for labor suppliers to not use high recruitment fees, so you can get businesses to cover the cost. Some may even pay a premier cost to solve the problem. But what about the smaller traffickers or smaller sub-agents? What stick do you use to control them? And because most of the solutions are after the problem has happened.
Yes.
You're getting people who may have not even been responsible to pay back a ridiculous amount of fees, and that's not that may not be right or fair, right? So yeah, hope to learn from everyone.
Thank you, Adrian. I think the traffickers or employers or the recruiting agency, they have a very good nexus from both the receiving country and sending country. They know that they are going to exploit it, but most of the time the worker, the governments, we don't have this, we cannot inform them, we cannot really provide them. So my question to all of you, the panelists, as we have 3 more minutes.
May I add something? Yeah.
You can add, but my question also to you, and I think anyone can answer that. What do you
Yeah.
think how international collaboration really can
Yeah.
help from government NGOs, different stakeholders to developing an effective legislative frameworks to solve these problems? You can answer. You can answer.
Beside that, bilateral labor agreement could be the one of the best solution for that kind of cases, because high recruitment fee only not charged by the country of origin actor. There is some kind of coalition between country of origin and country of destination. For example, if you look at the Nepal and Malaysian MU, it says that all the costs will be borne by the employer. But but MOU itself cannot work, because we need to make sure that we civil society organization need to make sure that those MOU which government are signing, how we can implement it. So there should be the collaboration between, for example, Malaysian and Nepali civil society organization to implement Nepal and Malaysia MOU on labor migration issue. And in that case, we can make sure that recruitment fee will not be charged to the migrant worker. Thank you.
Thank you. My question to you, Hano, that if you can shortly answer that, if you closely work with USAID and especially US every year's publish and State Department report on trafficking. So how such reporting can focus more on legislative issues and also suggestions? Do you have any things to add, Johan?
Well, the tip report per country has recommendations, has specific recommendations, and I'm sure some of those recommendations include the enactment or review of laws, because the situation is changing. Like I said, no, in the last 20 years, we had 3 revisions. Well, 2 revisions so we have 3 laws actually, and an additional law for OSAEC. So there has to be a continuing review to make these laws more relevant to the forms, especially now. Recruitment is by social media. Before 20 years ago, it was face-to-face. And recruitment by social media is more insidious, more deceptive, and therefore there's a need for new laws or new regulations to control recruitment by social media. And Department of Migrant Workers, their first advice is never, ever agree to a purely recruitment done purely via social media. You have to face. You need to find out who that recruiter is and look at their license. And you can easily go to the Department of Migrant Workers website to find out if that recruitment agency is legal or is banned or is suspended. And that is available. The list of all of these is in the website of our Department of Migrant Workers. But we need those rules.
Yes.
And we need to review those rules all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is really a good discussion, and we have ended also in time. So what I believe or what my feelings is different development organizations, we are project driven, And all of this works mostly not government driven, rather NGO driven. So I think if we really can governments, all of the agencies really can work together on collaboration, I think then probably we can solve the problems of trafficking or modern day slavery and others. So I think we are at the end of the time. So I don't know that if anyone want to add anything. So we have to end. So thank you all for your time, and especially thanks to all of the organization, everyone who have really worked hard, and also thanks to the audience. I think such types of works, discussion really help us to share our experience from country to country. I think as we will be more united, uh, then the problems will be solved. So thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you very much, Shariful, and all members of this panel. This was an amazing discussion with a lot of really great insights. Thank you all so much for the time that you have put into being a part of this. I think we have maybe a couple minutes, maybe if we can get a couple questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have. There is one question that says, how can governments and international organizations work together to combat the exploitation of migrant workers by recruitment agencies who charge excessive fees and ensure stronger regulations are in place to prevent human trafficking for forced labor? And this was by Eduardo Gorgonia. So if any member of the panel would like to answer this.
Shom or Johanna, any of you thinks how can governments and international organizations can work together? That was the most last part of discussion. So I still have some minutes. So if you want, any of you can answer. Adriana?
First of all, specific countries should need to ratify the international convention like Palermo Protocol and Forced Labor Convention and its protocol. That gives some kind of overall guidance to the national law. If national law is not clear on defining crime and providing remedy process to the victim, and for that, civil society organization and development partner can work together to design robust advocacy program to either enact the law or to amend the law or implementation of the law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
If I may
Yes.
add,
Yeah,
if I may add.
Yes,
Yeah,
we have time.
When,
Yes.
okay, in our campaigns, in our seminars, in our webinars, the first thing we say is you don't have to wait for your government or international organizations to do something about these illegal recruitment practices. You just have to report it. As an individual, anybody can report. For the Philippines, there is a hotline in the Department of Migrant Workers. It's 1348. And they will accept any report of illegal recruitment fees, etc., etc. So we don't need to wait for our government and the international community to do something. However, at the international level, there are different efforts. ASEAN Act in Southeast Asia, that's a regional project across Southeast Asia, where governments are cooperating to have agreements, to have protocols on handling human trafficking cases. But we don't need to wait for that. We just have to report. And it's so easy, 1348 for the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, Adrian.
Yeah, so with regards to international cooperation, we must look at a decolonized lens. So rather than depend on donors to push agendas, the grassroots have to come together. Survivors, former victims, when they lead, you can see the difference. The motivation is different, the drive, the fire, the passion. But we as civil society support from the sides. But we need to ensure that there's equitable relationships and not manipulate survivors and victims just to get funding. That happens and it's wrong. We should call that out. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mohammed Shajid, he has written on things that if the worker complains, sometimes he can be terminated. So I think that's really a problem, that how you can legally help them, Shom, because if the employers know that there is a complaint, so that's the fear works. So he or she cannot complain. So I think that's also issues how you can really make an it's the duty of the governments or regulatory authority and also organizations so that
Yeah.
they can investigate. So what do you think, Sean?
Yeah, this is a very big advocacy issue for international community as well as civil society. We need to do advocacy on that part because most of the worker who complain, they fire or they return back to their country of origin. But alternatively, I suggest one idea in those kind of cases, there should be the alternative remedy in a home country. For example, in Nepal, if migrant worker is not paid in Malaysia, for example, a company in Malaysia has given less salary, and yes, that migrant worker can file a complaint in Malaysia. But by any reason, if he or she cannot file a complaint in Malaysia, even though after returning she can file a case in Nepal, and Nepali jurisdiction can apply to provide the compensation to that particular migrant worker. So there should be alternative remedy. First one,
Yeah,
we need to do advocacy
yeah.
for that kind of situation. How can we make a responsible country of destination for that kind of cases? Maybe this is very huge.
Yes.
We need a lot of time. Or if we have alternative remedy in home country, that makes immediate.
Yeah, but that shown is come to compensation. If he have papers, probably he pays $5,000, but probably he have papers only for 1,000, and it's only compensation. The employers, he is not legally liable, but the Nepal cannot. I don't know that punish the employers in Malaysia. That's the problem. So I think
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
happening
yeah.
before.
That's right. I'm saying salary cases. If migrant worker promise 500 ringgit in Malaysia and only given 300 ringgit in Malaysia, that means 200 per month. That can be accrued from recruiting agency. We believe that in supply chains, recruiting agency also have some kind of responsibility and some kind of connection with employer. That's why Nepali law make obligatory to the recruiting agency to pay that amount.
That is Philippines, the way they protect their workers through their embassy, through their center. I think that could be really good. Can you share some of the examples that how Philippines protect their workers in abroad?
Well, we in a lot of countries where we have migrant workers, there are shelters. Of course, there are challenges in these shelters, given the number of those who escape from very abusive employers. But there are many embassies also where we have what we call the migrant workers officer. This used to be called uh, Philippine Overseas Labor Officers or POLOs. Now they're called Migrant Workers Officers. So they focus on migrant worker problems and issues and complaints. So they're the frontliners. So they're in Saudi Arabia, they're in the Middle Eastern countries, they're in Malaysia, but they face the challenges, because sometimes there are many complaints. So that's the first line that migrant workers can take advantage of. Of course, if the migrant workers are undocumented, that's another problem. But that's the problem of the migrant workers officer in the embassy. He or she has to deal with that problem.
Okay, thank you. And so we are out of time for this panel, but one question coming from, and I need someone to answer this in 1 minute. Coming from, we have a fantastic group over on YouTube who are participating and have lots of great questions. And someone asked, they said, we could easily say that just report, but what happens in situations where a person feels like their life is being threatened? So if someone can answer that in just 1 minute, I would appreciate that very much.
Well, that's the main reason why they should report if their life is under threat. And even through social media, there are so many reports that are coming out, especially if the life of the victim is being threatened. So whether through social media channels or through official channels, the hotlines,
Yeah.
it is more important it is more urgent to report
Yeah.
those cases. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been a really engaging discussion. I really appreciate all of the panelists starting us off very strong today. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it. And so moving into our other panel for this for today, this is why it's important to have a strong team, right? So we had our very own Kuldeep Singh Chauhan. I always want to switch it up. Who agreed to step in at the last minute when we had someone step down. So Kuldeep is going to be leading the next panel. And Kuldeep is the Asia Regional Director for Free the Slaves. So our very own Kuldeep. And he has lots of really, really great experience throughout Asia. He's based in India, but has really great experience. He's passionate about human rights and social justice issues, community initiative solutions, and improving access to opportunities for marginalized and economically disadvantaged communities. He values field perspective, builds trust and rapport with stakeholders, and believes in having a problem-solving attitude. He has a fantastic very extensive bio that you can read on our website. But just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and hand over to Kuldeep, who is going to lead the panel on international collaboration. So Kuldeep, over to you.
Thank you so much, Giselle, for the introduction. And thank you for the previous panel. You did a great job and laid the ground for our panel, so we can segue into this topic of international collaboration. So we'll have a panel discussion on cross-border cooperation and networking strategies. For this panel, I am joined by three panelists who have decades of experience behind them in this field and are known experts in their field. So I'll leave the panelists to introduce themselves. I'll call on Mr. Kosal Hor, National Director, Chabdai Coalition, to go first and introduce himself and the work Chabdai is doing. Mr. Kosal.
Thank you. Thank you, Kuldeep. Okay, Jabib from Cambodia. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity for Chabdai Coalition to be a part of this forum, and then thank you also for every participant from this part of the region or in this part of the world. It is ours the day that together will come up from this last day, and I think that the most important right now is to come up to international collaboration and networking as well here. Yes, my name is Kusal, and especially for Chabdai in the English, it means that join hand together to end all form of the human trafficking. So Chabdai is working not only in Cambodia, but also we working as across borders, especially for the sub-Mekong region country and also some part of the region country as well for cross-border supporting. And actually that Chabdai is established in Cambodia as a coalition. So mean that coalition we start with more than 50 non-government NGO in Cambodia, and some of them are international NGO and some of them are local and practitioner at the field. So we are joined together to make sure that our hand are strong enough, because on one hand we're focusing on these our capacity of the CSO member. Another hand, that is we focusing on the local duty bearers or any part of the government official that they are responsible for supporting us. Another hand, that we're working together with this survivor itself. Mean that this is focusing on the making sure that they are recovered and they are able to go back to the community or the country. Last hand, that we can say that Chabdai is focusing on the community engagement. This is the most important work, and so far we really appreciate from these our starting work directly with the relevant stakeholder, and mainly here's we're focusing on two main areas. One is focusing on the coalition. So with the coalition that we're focusing on these similar vision and similar mission from our CSO partner and member as the fighting human trafficking, modern slavery, and other exploitation, and in country and crossing borders. And then second, we're focusing on our internal responding to the four main strategy. One, we focusing on prevention work directly with the communities and local society, and another part of the relevant stakeholder. Second, we're focusing on intervention as well here. So we are partnership and we are engaging all the stakeholder to be a part of the intervention. And then third, we're focusing on protection. So protection is very important for everyone here working in the field of the human trafficking. And last is we working as the influencing or advocacy. So we working at national level for making change and related policy or any part of the guideline to benefit to the survivor and another vulnerable group. Okay, back to this topic. It's very important that I also joined since the day one, and also not. It doesn't mean that this is more important than other, but it is very interrelated together here because that mainly we are not only the source country, but also we are the transit country, and we are the destination country as well. So the most important for the topic, I think I have 3 points. One is this. Each responsibility and accountability of those countries. You are the source, you are destination, and you are the transit country. Second, we can say that human trafficking cannot be alone. You cannot work alone. It must be together. So we proactive contribution from all a perspective of all stakeholders together with a comprehensive variety of the contribution is the most important point. Last, victim-centered approach. This is the place that I will share. So, okay, I hope to have more time to share in the discussion. Thank you. Give the floor to you back, Philip. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Kusal, for that was fantastic. Now we'll move on to our another panelist. Joining us is Malika Karunan from A21. Malika, over to you for the introductions.
Thank you so much, Kuldeep, and thank you everyone for the opportunity to talk and speak to you today. It is such an honor, and I'm really looking forward to this panel discussion. So I work as a survivor advocate for A21 Thailand, and A21 is a global anti-trafficking organization. We have our presence here in Southeast Asia. So specifically, we have a child advocacy center here in Pattaya, as well as an office in Bangkok, as well as in Cambodia. So in Cambodia, we have what we call the CAC in Siem Reap. It's really a space dedicated for survivors of trafficking, particularly children, and also families to receive full support and get full access to services that they may need. In terms of our A21's work, we have what we call a 3-pronged approach to responding to trafficking in all its form. We recognize, similar to Jabdai, where we see that there's a vulnerability that kind of starts even before survivors become exploited or they become trafficked. So what we have the program called REACH. REACH is just prevention and assistance of people who are maybe at higher risk than compared to like maybe others, so that they have full access to education, awareness, and they have the full tools that they may need to respond to any potential exploitation that might take place. In the Recover program, which is the department that I'm in, this is the legal intervention and the support that survivors may need as they have already been exploited. So when they need to meet with law enforcement and prosecutor, go to court, and then receive basically access to full access to justice, we are that kind of like in between them and also their law enforcement counterparts, so that they have the ability to go through the process without being re-traumatized, re-trafficked, and they get full access to services. And last but not least, we have our Restore department, which is the aftercare program. This is where we create specifically tailored programs for each survivors in our care, so that they have whatever services that they may need, and then they have the ability to just stay strong and walk towards independence on their own. So with all of these models in mind, A21 really believes in working and collaborating closely with partners in Cambodia and Thailand and also globally. So we believe that in the community model, where we try to utilize local resources and build a capacity of local service providers, so that they alone are able to do the work when A21 might not exist one day. So that's just a little brief introduction to A21. I look forward to our conversation in a little bit.
That was terrific. Thank you, Malika, for that. And I'll then pass on the baton to Benu Mayaguran. Benu ji is Country Director for Alliance Against Trafficking of Women and Children in Nepal. Benu ji, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kuldeep ji, and everyone. Namaste and hi. Thank you very much for FTS team to having me as a panelist with this very important event against trafficking and anti-slavery. I'm Benu Mayagurum, Executive Director of ATWIN. And I introduce the ATWIN. ATWIN is a Alliance Against Trafficking in Women and Children in Nepal. It is a national level network which is working since 28 years against human trafficking from the right-based approach and from the perspective of human rights. And at present, we are 44 member organization from all over the Nepal, and among 44, 7 members are the survivors and right holders organization. And at present also our national network is lead by one of the right holders. At the same time, we have 3 board members, survivors and right holders. And the major work of program of ATWIN is we do the policy advocacy regarding the formation, improvement or implementation of the various policy related with trafficking. Then we do the conceptual clarity and the capacity building initiative, because still the conceptual clarity toward the trafficking is still very not clear, and because due to the new trends of the trafficking, and we update the new trends of trafficking to with our the CSO organization, our member, as well the other government and non-government stakeholders. And the third major our work is the network building, because we know that trafficking is organized crime, and one organization and one agency could not combat it. So we build the network from the local level to national level to international level with various organizations. So we do the network building to combating trafficking in collective way. And the 4-hour major program is to develop the ATWIN as a resource organization, so the related organization can get the information from the ATWIN related with the trafficking. What is the update? What is the new issues are coming? So these are our major works we are doing. So this is a very brief introduction of our office, our organization ATWIN. So regarding the situation, I would a little bit, I want to give the information like at the recent, we know the data is very challenging for all the countries, and which data we take as this is correct data. But there is, even though our National Human Rights Commission, they publish the TIP reports every year, and the latest TIP report mentioned that 40,300 people are trafficked from Nepal. And when we see the child labor, there's 11 lakhs children is still in child labor. And when we see the data of we have Anti-Trafficking Bureau, which investigate the TIP cases. It is under the Nepal police. And they have the recently financial year from till July, the recent financial year shows there's only 166 cases is reported. So we can take the scenario how the access of justice of trafficking survivor and slavery partners is there. This is one of the scenario of the Nepal. And when we see the some situation, we have open border with India, which is our neighbor country. There's a whole big area is with open border with India, our neighbor. We have ratified the UNTOC, United Nations Transitional Organized Crime in 2011, as well Palermo Protocol recently in 2020. And along with this, so these are why I'm talking about this, because, and we know in South Asian countries, many Asian countries, these also ratify this UNTOC and Palermo Protocol. So this is open the avenues for the cross-border collaboration and cooperation among the countries who ratify the Palermo Protocol. So this is the situation. And at the same time, at the regional level, SARC, we have SARC. And the SARC have also SARC Convention on Trafficking of Women and Children, for prevention and combating. on prostitution. So this is one of the issues, even though for the SARC convention, Admin have did the big campaign in 2000 also, but still we are again lobbying and advocating to, it is now because the trafficking is not only limited to the prostitution. So it is for the so many labor, for the labor trafficking also, there are so many people are trafficking. So recently our Nepal government has rescued 28 men, not rescued, we say repatriated, make the bonded labor there and abandoned there. So in last week only, because our Ministry of Women, Children and Social Senior Citizen, which is the focal ministry of the human trafficking, they have repatriated 28 men from the India. So this is the example that not only for the prostitution or not for the sexual exploitation, there's so many child labor and men for the labor is also become a slavery and slave or the traffic, modern day slaves. So these are the context of the regional provision. And we have SIVAC also. SIVAC is the South Asian Initiative Violence Against Children. This is the apex body of SARC. Even though we know SARC is not working that much nowadays, it is like how much we have questioned that is SARC is we are working on that. That is another question. But still, there is SIVAC mechanism, South Asian Initiative Violence Against Children, which secretariat is in Nepal, and it looks after 5 issues of the violence against children. And one of the theme is also trafficking also. So we are working with SIVAC also as a NACG Nepal, because Admin also chair the NACG Nepal, which is the country mechanism to support the SIVAC. So these are some of the mechanism existing regarding the cross-border collaboration related with trafficking. But at the same time, the challenges we have, even though how much these are mechanism working, there is the question from the civil society. Even though we don't have, Nepal don't have any kind of MOU or mutual legal assistance with our neighbor country. Even and the thing is doing the MOU with the other third country is the very far dream for us also. So this is the misery actually we say, because we are in the neighbor country, which is due to the open border, it is become one of the transit and the destination for the Nepali peoples for the trafficking, including the children also. So we don't have any MOU or mutual legal assistance with even though with our Nepal, our neighbor country also. So this is one of the challenge. And another thing is the victim identification is one of the issue, because when we are doing the rescuing or repatriating or supporting various support to the survivors or victims, there is in Nepal we don't have any document or policy guideline for the victim identification. So sometime, even though our government is also, and they don't have the process, any formal process, if there is someone identified in the destination country, how to repatriate them. So these are going on ad hoc basis. As I said, there is not any formal MOU or legal mutual under mutual legal assistant with our related countries. So only the work is going on from the decade and decade with our neighbor country, with the formal or informal cooperation between the CSO to CSO. And even though they said if we go to the government process, it is a very lengthy and it is very complicated. So there is only yes.
Venuji, like you touched on the regional cooperation part and working with the regional associations and working with Nepalese government. I'll come back to you but I would like to go back to my colleagues, the panelists, who Mr. Kosal and Malika. Starting with Malika. Malika, you mentioned about A21's work in the region, particularly focusing on Cambodia and Thailand, and your association and knowledge about what Chabdai coalition is also doing in Cambodia. So I want you both to come on this topic, starting with Malika. Malika, can you share an example of a successful cross-border initiative between, as as is the general knowledge that Cambodia is the source country, and we see many forced labor working in Thai fishing vessels, which is as one of the examples. So can you share an example of a successful cross-border initiative you have been involved in? And the same question is to Mr. Kosal as well, but starting with Mallika.
Sure. So similar to Cambodia as well, Thailand is also both a source and a country of origin, a source country, and also a transit country and a country of destination for trafficking in persons. So we do have the similar challenges between Thailand and Cambodia, where we have survivors crossing borders all the time. So we have many cases actually of Cambodian survivors of trafficking who are both children and adults, and usually they come in a family setting where they basically migrate over from Cambodia into Thailand for the promise of a better job, a better life, or job opportunities, which is what the main kind of like push factor into them coming to Thailand. But what we find is that a lot of them, even though they have this intention of wanting to work in this particular sector, whether it be agriculture, whether it be in the fishing industry, or whether it be in a domestic kind of like setting, many of them might find themselves suddenly getting into a job that is not entirely consensual, or it's not a job that they were looking for in the beginning, or perhaps it's the same job they're looking for, but it's not what was promised to them. So we have cases like that happen all the time. And unfortunately, now that borders have fully opened between Thailand, Cambodia, as well as Myanmar, Laos, Malaysia, we do find a lot of cases like these do come up. In terms of successes, we have supported many different families and children, particularly from Cambodia, actually, as well as Nepal, who have been trafficked here into Thailand. But what we found was a success with that when these survivors are, identified by law enforcement and the Thai government, as well as civil society, because we have such a close collaboration and we work really well in a multidisciplinary team setting, it means that there's effective identification and immediate assistance of these Cambodian survivors. So immediately we know that we'll have to bring Khmer interpreters so that we can facilitate language. We bring them inside a shelter so that they're placed in a safe environment. And then we, of course, make sure we do conduct a full and thorough interview, risk assessment, as well as home visits, do interviews with both the Thailand and Cambodian counterparts so that we're constantly collaborating across the border. And then more importantly, we make sure that if it's the desire or the wish of the survivor to return back to their home country, or if it's even to stay in Thailand, we do find that option for them. So even in Thailand, there's a possibility for survivors, when they finish their legal process and they pursue a case against their trafficker, or even if they decide not to, there's still a possibility of them staying in the country for longer in a particular sector, as long as the work is legal and is recognized by the Thai government. But even so, when we assist those survivors back to Cambodia, there is always communication between both countries, and we hand what we call the handoff process, where we work with the Cambodian colleagues from A21 from IJM, and then we bring the survivors over, and they are taken care of fully throughout the process. We also found in some of these cases as well, even though survivors do want to pursue a legal case in Thailand, which is where, the exploitation, trafficking has happened to them, they might not necessarily want to stay in Thailand as the legal process continues, which can be anywhere between 6 months to up to 2 years or 3 years. So we actually support his family to return back home to Cambodia. And then we are the ones following up on their legal process and assisting them every time they need to come back to Thailand to testify, to pursue a legal process. But we try to limit the number of times they are able to do so that they're not too traumatized, too affected by this, and they're able to go back to their lives. So I think in terms of the best practice or even the successful collaboration we've seen, the cases that we've seen that work really well are the ones where government are talking to each other, civil society are talking to government, and there's trust and also mutual understanding of that survivors are survivors. They were victimized, and now it's our job and our responsibility to protect them and ensure that they're not re-trafficked or placed in a similar setting as they were before. But as you can probably imagine, and my colleague at Japdai can probably attest as well, that it's more difficult than we think it is. So even if they return to Cambodia or they return to their country of origin, there can still be many challenges that we don't quite foresee when it comes to assisting these group of survivors. But I think that's my answer. But if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer them later on.
Yes, thank you so much. We will take a minute to acknowledge our viewers and listeners on YouTube Live. Rest assured, the questions you are asking in the chat, we are trying to put here in the Q&A section. Our panelists are also looking at those questions and will answer that either live or they will type their answer in text. So thank you, Mallika. I would pass on the same question to Mr. Kosal as we discussed. And Mr. Kosal, please also add, Mallika here also in her response mentioned that what will make this cross-border cooperation effective. So you can also add like what would be the ingredients apart from the successful example which you'll give. You please add what will make it effective as a cross-border cooperation, you know.
Thank you, Kodip. Thank you, Malika as well. Here mentioned something related to protection and yes, the most important is this: Chapdai has many successful cases cross-border. Like I mentioned at the beginning, that not only the sub-Mekong country or the same region country, but also another's far country like in Malaysia or in another's in some part of the developed country. Yes, the most important that we can share with this, and to add on to my colleague Malika mentioned here, we have to come up with very, very effective collaboration with the ambassador. The embassy in each country are working very well. So to make them working well, at least that we have to be a trust. One case is in this very difficult case in our Vietnam country. That is very difficult because that in the cross-border is very difficult to come up and out. So to be easy that here we have to build up the communication, build strong communication with those relevant stakeholders, not only the government, not only the local authority, but the most important is every part of the CSO, private sector, we are together to who's is working about for making sure they are properly repatriated or they are properly returned back to the origin country. Yeah. I can share more because that why I say ambassador is the most important, because that they are the one responsible for their own people. So the ambassador in Vietnam or in Thailand, they are responsible for the Cambodian people to repatriate proper back to country. So in our country that we have to be ready for any immediate support or any short-term support or long-term plan to support the survivor, like Monica mentioned. So the possibility is at the first stage of the supporting to the victim is the most important. How can we support it? At least that they are proper safely repatriate from those destination country. Yeah. So this is the most important function of this embassy, that they are working in that country. They're working very important role and accountable for their own people. Second, that I can share is very successful and effective collaboration after crossing borders is the most important, that communication, very important here. This is very important. We have to pass our information from the origin, the source country, the destination country, that they have to pass information to the source country or origin country, yeah. So we can follow up because that the flight is not going to be connected or something like that. But information in hand that we are ready for them. Okay, what kind of the victim that what kind of the information we have them, what we have to be ready, what we have proper plan. So this is that I mentioned that the proactive contribution from every people around that here is most important. But you have to be one of the good facilitators, like could you do this work as well here? I can say that here because Chapdai working as the same job working approach here. We working with collaborative with all relevant stakeholders. A21 has expert on trauma. Haga, another part of the member, they are the work together here. So we are ready in hand our planet. When the victim arrived, we are ready in all here. Which one is immediate support? Which one is in the second support? In another long-term support here. Those is in plan already for our work. That is very effective and can be able to support the survivor on time. Back to this one challenging that I can raise to add up to my colleague Malika and also Belu mentioned as well here. For this is that the problem for some country that they are not in the optional protocol of Palermo. Palermo optional protocol is the one standard to identify the victim But sometimes that we identify as the victim in our country, but that is destination country or in another country, they not recognize this as a victim. So they don't think that this is the treat the victim as they are victim of human trafficking. That is why that the role of the embassy, the role of the CSO working in that country, you have to be sure that here, this is your work, this is your contribution to make sure that the survivor or not survivor or whatever that they are the part of human trafficking or modern slavery, they are ready to move back to their country. So in the source country, you are ready for your plan as well. Third, the most important and successful case that I can share with you and chapter history also in Cambodia, we have to mapping out from this, the first initiate of the consultative. This is the most important for the survival. So our connection to that the relevant stakeholder in this field is the most important, because that sometimes we do not have enough resources to support those survivors, because sometimes not only one or two survivors at the same time. Some flight they can maintain the survivor are arrive at the same time, so that if we don't have any proper or any contribution from any stakeholder, we may be late to respond to them. We may be difficult. So this is the accountable of the government, like Ministry of Social Affairs. This is CSO working the same field, and also we're working together to make sure that we are able to support those survivors or those people that are identified by our embassy. Yes, I can share this, and this is three main points that are most important and effective, the cross-border collaboration and coordination. I think that I will be happy to answer more questions, specific if you want a more specific case study. Thank you. The floor to you back on the.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Kosal. While you were speaking, we have a direct question from an audience, because you spoke about embassies. So I would open this to you. Can human trafficking be addressed diplomatically enough to bring about sufficient change? Or I would add, help the victims. And also I would address, once Mr. Kosal has answered, I would address the same question to Ms. Benuji, because she mentioned about working with the government and the regional associations and the challenges. So while she was mentioning that she said there are some challenges. So Benuji, can you also answer, like in a solution-oriented way, what can be the solution to address these challenges as well? Over to you, Mr. Kosal.
Thank you, Kundip. Very much appreciate. This is a very good question. And also here, the most important that I mentioned here, this is one of the strategy that everyone have to be had to pay attention on that here. Bilateral or multilaterals is very most important. The government had to understand each other here. Even that some country they have already have MOU, but still have difficult. How about Nepal that do not have MOU? So I will share my part here. The most important, the accountability is not our role. This is not our role whole. So to end all victim, to end all kind of form of human trafficking or modern slavery or exploitation, the huge contribution from the government is most important. They have to run very important role. They have to do any part of the collaboration with the government, with its UN agency and UN agency. So we are the CSO, we are the practitioner. We just only come to complete, and our role had to fill the gap. Our role had to push and to build more communication, to have more exact information from their part of everyone in these cases. So for example, here for one case reported through our hotline, so we cannot go alone without any collaboration with the government, without any local authority to go with us. We have to go together here because that their role had to accompany and had to take action immediately. So the lack of resources, so we can allocate our resources to support them. This is one of the things that I can say. The role of the government is very important, and political will is very important as well here. They have to pay attention on each government here. I'm very sorry to hear that Nepal do not have any MOU with the neighbor country. It is much more challenging than others. But in Asian country, all the country in Asia, like Vietnam, Cambodia, Thai, Laos, Myanmar, Philippines, if we have MOU together here, but we still have big challenges. This is even we have MOU when repatriate, or for example, it is really recently that the case in Cambodia. It took us more than 3 months to repatriate our survivor back to Malaysia. This is a very, very big time for us to allocate all things to support the survivor to be back home safely. Yeah, but because of this is shortage, it is very short. Another case is more than 6 months. Some cases 1 year because the process of the legalist. So this is just only the most important that here bilateral or multilateral government must be in a part of this because they are the one who ratify our optional protocols, Parliament optional protocol. Secondly, I can share with you, I will hand over to Banu for you continuing, but the most important here is that the grassroots of the government allocation, budget allocation is most important. So we are the one who make sure that they have enough resource to respond after repatriate or after reintegrate back to the communities. Because that we do not have enough resources to support the whole long time here. So the most important, we are the one who push them to make them aware and continue to from our action. That I told you at the beginning that this is proactive contribution from everyone in terms of human trafficking. Otherwise, we do not have comprehensive support to the survivor. So I hand over to Banu, you please.
Yes, Benuji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, this is the challenges because we are talking about what is the real issue of victims. And the thing is, we are working with government from 3 venture. We are the member of National Committee to Coordination against Human Trafficking, which is chaired by our Ministry of Women Chair and Senior Citizen. And it is a interministerial mechanism where we are 3 CSOs and 2 survivors as well. Because we are from the very beginning, we're advocating their participation of the survivors in their related issues. And at present also, I am attending this webinar from the workshop we are going on from yesterday, the residential workshop with the survivors, 30 survivors of survivors to identify their issues. So we can amplifying and link their voices. So the thing is we are talking about one is the power issues also. Some of our earlier in session, our colleague is saying, even though sometime our government, we sensitize our government, they at some extent they are agreed to do the bilateral or multilateral MOU also. But the thing is, the destination country is sometimes not interested. So as a national network, we are advocating this issue not within our government, within the international level, like with using the UPR mechanism, CEDAW, CRC, and SDG, etc. But these are the bilateral thing is, I think, very, very much complicated. And I didn't say that our government not done anything because our government but the thing is the conceptual clarity of the victim identification, because when we represent in the National Committee Against Trafficking, and especially I think I should mention that sometimes the Ministry of Labor, they didn't accept or identify if someone is taking the labor permit, how could he or she can be trafficked? This is the question. So this is about the conceptual clarity issues and new trend of the trafficking, like one of the colleagues saying about the scam trafficking. Yes. Yeah, we are the Thailand. We have so many Nepalese cases who are trafficked for the scamming, and it is the case is registered in Anti-Trafficking Bureau as well. So there are the cases of fake marriages. So these are the issues, which I think only the inside the country we are doing the effort. But the thing is how we can make the accountable and responsible to the destination and the transit country also.
Thank you, Benuji. We have just last 1 minute left, and we have a question addressed to Malika. So Malika, just please be brief in responding to this question. This question is from an anonymous attendee to you. I would like to ask as to what support services are important for survivors of human trafficking to prevent re-victimization. How do these services help them rebuild their lives? This is addressed to you, Malika.
Great. Yeah. So just to quickly kind of like go through, in terms of like support for victims to be prevented from re-trafficking, we find that ongoing case communication and follow-up is so crucial because in cross-border cases, we find that when survivors return to their country of origin or when they are repatriated back to their country, there's not really a thorough follow-up mechanism in place. So if there's no NGO, there's no governmental agencies who are available to follow up, we find that survivors will fall trapped into the same kind of like loop of exploitation. So that is so crucial. And also what's more important is that education is everything. So now that they've gone through this exploitation, it doesn't mean that they still have the right tools and know the right way to respond and protect themselves and their community. So we know that, reaching out to those community, their home villages and their, kind of like local government is so important to have them be provided the tools and know exactly how to respond. So I know that's a short answer, but given the time, I think that's kind of like the best way to capture that information.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
I think the most important, can I add to my colleague Manika, very important. Everyone, I think that very practically, only 2 points that you have to be paying attention. First, that you have to make sure that the income generation must be able for them at the community after repatriate or after the integrate. Is very important here, but otherwise they will be not in the community, but they will go another places to find more income because they are the vulnerability because the need of the income generation. So the most important thing here, pay more attention, whatever you do to make sure that income generation are in place so they can make their income more. Second here, legal aid, the most important here. Justice is the most important for the survivor. Otherwise, that you will not be able to stop them to move from their community. So when they move from community, they become the re-victimized. That is all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kosil. Thank you all for the fantastic panel. You have some still outstanding questions in a Q&A session. We would request the panelists to please answer them in text. I'll pass it on to my colleague Giselle now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kuldeep, and all panelists. Again, another wonderful panel, great discussions, and we have a lot of great questions coming in related to your discussion. So please continue to engage with these questions in the Q&A box. We really appreciate your time and effort that you put in to sharing your expertise with us. So thank you so much. And so we're going to move into a case study presentation, and I particularly enjoy case studies. As an academic myself, my students tend to love case studies because it brings to life a lot of what we're discussing here. And so we have Luong Lee from the Blue Dragon Children's Foundation. She is the ATIP Department Director, and she has dedicated many years to anti-trafficking work, working with hundreds of victims of labor and sex trafficking in Vietnam. Luong has initiated the community-based early warning system model that provides education, screening, and responsive measures to combating trafficking. And this is just a small snippet of all the fantastic work that she has done. And we are really, really honored to have you join us to be a part of this and to share from your knowledge and lessons learned from the work that you're doing. And so, Luong, we want to welcome you as you do a case study on successful cross-border rescue and repatriation, which is really, really important. We had a lot of questions about working with survivors and how do we help them get back into the community. So I'm sure that this session is going to be fantastic. So welcome.
Thank you so much for introduction, Rachel. So maybe I will share my screens first. Yes. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for having me today to share our experience in cross-border rescue and repatriation. Our organization, Blue Dragon Children's Foundation, has been rescuing children from homelessness and victims of human trafficking in Vietnam since 2004. We focus on trafficking children into exploitative labor and Vietnamese women and girls into sexual exploitation and forced marriage. Our first rescue was in 2005 when the father met a 13 years old boy forced to sell flowers at midnight. Returning him home, we learned that dozens of children in the same village were trafficked for forced begging or forced labor in street shops. This started our efforts to rescue domestic trafficking victims in Vietnam. In 2007, a street girl were invited to work in the border area, but ended up in a brothel in China. With a lot of efforts, cooperation with Vietnamese and authorities, Blue Dragon rescued her and six others in the same brothel. This is our first cross-border rescue. So our rescue were conducted in response to a calls for help. Often they come from a family member, from the government trafficking hotline, or reports from friends. The rescue team receives calls for help daily. They contact victims to build trust, locate their location while working with different agencies in Vietnam and our network partners in their destinations countries to rescue them, to develop a rescue plan and take them home. So after 20 years, Blue Dragon has directly rescued more than 100, 1,500 victims and illicit victims who are Vietnamese people trafficked within the country to China, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and provide repatriation support for nearly 1,200 victims and illicit victims after they were rescued by authorities. Our victims come from all 63 provinces of Vietnam, and some of them are Cambodians who are in Vietnam as a transit country. As Mr. Kosans from Trap Dimensions in the previous panel, uh, Blue Dragon work very closely with Vietnamese authorities and Cambodia embassies in Vietnam to provide emergency support for Cambodia victims when they are in Vietnam before they can return and come back to Cambodia. So this in May, one of our victims, she was born in 1987, has a husband and two children. They live near the China border. However, a family accident happened.
No,
Her husband.
excuse me. Your presentation is not moving.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is it work now?
No, it's still static, and maybe you can put it on slideshow and then. Yeah.
Put it
Try.
on slideshow. Oh, sorry. Is it work now?
No, Luang, now I cannot see the presentation.
Yes. Let me start again.
Or maybe my colleague Aline will help you. She'll
Yes.
put the presentation.
Can you share this mic now?
Yeah, I can see the presentation, but it is not in the slideshow mode.
Oh. Is this work now? Is the presentation mode?
It's moving. Yeah, please go on.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Luckily. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the case study. This May, she's born in 1978. She has a husband and two children, but an accident happened with the family when her husbands were prisoned for theft. So faced with a loss of economic hardship, she need to find an income to have her two children. So a family friends offer her jobs in China to support her family, faced with a lot of hardship and a lot of consideration. So after 4 months of being persuaded by the trafficker, the woman agreed to go to China to work. However, in March 2020, she's ended up to be sold to a Chinese man as his forced bride for 100,000 US dollar. Luckily, May managed to contact her family, and with guidance of through that, the informations come to our rescue team. With the guidance from Blue Dragon and authority, she escapes to a Chinese police station, and then we work together to repatriate her to Vietnam. Our goals is to end human trafficking in Vietnam. Rescuing victims is just the first step. They need appropriate social support to reintegrate into society and avoid re-trafficking and other forms of exploitation. So typically, newly rescued victims receive initial support in our emergency shelter, including nutrition, medical exams, psychosocial care, and counseling about their rights by our social workers, psychologists, and lawyers. Once stable, they returned home for long-term support from Blue Dragon social worker. However, this process faces some challenges. As a source country of trafficking, about 80% of Vietnamese victims are trafficked across the border. Once in Vietnam, they wish to return to their communities as quick as possible. A significant number of survivors are from ethnic minority groups. They have a very different language, cultures, and lifestyle. Additionally, based on our rescue and repatriation data, Blue Dragon has identified human trafficking hotspots in Vietnam. There is a need to focus on supporting those communities in building resources to assist victims and prevent human trafficking. So these challenges require psychosocial support services in the location where the victim live, delivered by local social workers who understand their community and situation. However, according to the Vietnamese regulation, labor officers are responsible for supporting victims, but their background knowledge of social work, child protection, human trafficking is little. As a result, support for victims in the communities is very limited in Vietnam. Providing comprehensive assistance in the community, including assessing state welfare, is a survivor-centered approach that is also more economically efficient and sustainable in the longer run. To address all the challenges, Blue Dragon develops the community-based case management that we call CBCM, to a model that supports the integrations of survivors into their communities and intervenes to reduce the risk for children and adults vulnerable to human trafficking. So since 2020, nearly 200 community social workers have been trained and mentors by Blue Dragon experienced social workers. So we come back with the case study of May.
Sorry, your slide is again stuck on slide number 6. So our technical team will support you. They will present the slide. My colleague Aline is just putting up the slide. And when you say next, she'll move on to the next slide. Aline, you can already go to Su Luong, which slide you were on. Aline will go to that slide and you can take it on from there.
Slide 12. Yes,
12.
Thank you.
You can stop me when I get where you want.
The next one. Next one. Yes, this one. Yeah, thank you. Look, come back a little bit. Yeah. So this one, the case study of May. Next one, please. Yes. So this is the case study of May that I introduced in the beginning of my presentation. Once it combines, they face a lot of difficulties. However, because she urgently needed to reunite with her families, so that's why May's work, supported by local social worker trains in Blue Dragon communities-based case management model instead of being supported directly by Blue Dragon social worker. And as mentioned by Mr. Kosans from Chap Dai, it's really important for the victim to receive the whole full support full service in order to reintegrate and avoid trafficking. That's why we really focus on livelihood support and also the legal advocacy and representation, especially in this case because the trafficker live in the same communities and the traffickers are the families acquaintances. So that's why we have the victims go to the court case and present her in the court. Finally, the 3 traffickers got involved in this case were sentenced to prison to 9 to 12 years. And then might also support with a different livelihood support. Next slide, please. So, however, the human trafficking in Vietnam and also in the Asia region has significant change due to social and economic factors during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. And I believe that Mina from yesterday panels have discussed this issue. More people need work and are vulnerable to online fraudulent employment promises. Consequently, more people become victims and new backgrounds and social groups that were not previously vulnerable, and new trafficking patterns and rules emerging. Before the pandemic, nearly all victims Blue Dragon rescue were women trafficked to China for forced marriage or sex work due to China gender imbalance. Now, only 40% of our victims are trafficked to China, with Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos becoming significant hotspots. Gender vulnerability is also changing, with men and boys increasingly trafficked into forced criminality in online scam compounds. Before, more than 90% of our victims were women and girls, but this has declined in 2020, with male victims now around 50% of our news cases. So economic hardships from COVID-19 increases vulnerability among men who feel the cultural pressure to provide family financially, making them prone to migrate and falls victim to exploitation. So ethnic minorities also still remain represented in trafficking in Vietnam, but more victims now come from the majority King ethnicity due to increased labor exploitation and migration for work. So another issues that we face here in Vietnam also lack centers or services for male trafficking victims. Gender stereotypes prevent them from being recognized as victims. The burden of breadwinner, along with the family debt incurred to get their freedom, drives them to seek employment quickly right after they come back home. So all of those things, those are new challenges for Blue Dragon Rescue and also the regional victim protection in general. Victims are trafficked and repatriated through Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, through different border crossings and routes compared to our cases to China before. It means that it takes a lot of time for us to develop a network of supporters and partners in different countries so that we can work to return the victim. And also because male victims are outside traditional CBCM models, hotspot or Blue Dragon. So it means that with male victims, we also provide direct support for them through social workers of Blue Dragon. Next slide, please. So through all the process, we have some lessons learned. The first thing is always act in the best interest of the victim and survivor are the experts on their issues. We never say no to a cause for a rescue. Firstly, we all focus on domestic trafficking, but when a case of cross-border trafficking comes to us, we cannot say no to the victim and their family. We try to find ways to rescue them. And then suddenly we receive calls for help from victims in Cambodia for forced criminality. We also cannot say no to the victim. So some cases will take a lot of time, but we try to keep contact with the victim, help them remain the belief of the freedom, one day they can come back home, while we're trying to find a way to work with different partners to rescue them. And of course, we try to getting the victims in own decision making. Our second lesson is the partnerships and the cooperation is so important with government agency and also NGO. Are crucial for successful rescue and repatriation. Different working groups at provincial level, at national level, and in different countries ensures the flexibility and match the needs of every victim and situation. The other two lessons related to the repatriation process and reintegration process for the victim. We highlight the community-based case management is essential, sustainable, and cost-effective because they established by local government with the detailed regulation and member responsibilities that should align with local policy to support vulnerable communities. And the fourth lesson is providing social work case management training and also building capacity for law enforcement, not secure the effectiveness of rescue and victim protection. Mentoring and on-the-job trainings are crucial to repatriate victims and also support them to reintegrate. And finally, flexibility is needed to adapt to changing human trafficking patterns and provide the best service for victims and vulnerable communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luong. Thank you so much. That was really interesting to learn about all the great work that you have been doing. So I am checking the Q&A section to see if there's any questions that you can answer. We have just a couple minutes. So let's look at the questions. So I see one in the chat that says, and I'm not sure if you can answer this, but it says, what specific challenges do ethnic minority groups face in relation to exploitation compared to the kin majority?
Yes, thanks for the question. So in Vietnam, the kin majorities account for more than 80% of the population. So we have 54 ethnic minority groups, but they only account for 40% of the total population. They have their own language. They live in the mountainous area, very remote. So that's why their social economic situations is more vulnerable and less advantaged than king majority. They face. That's why they migrate to work, and because they live along the long border of Vietnam with other country, it also make them easy to cross border for work and phones trapped by human traffickers. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. And we have just 2 minutes left, and there was another great question that says, what are some of the biggest challenges the foundation faces in carrying out its mission?
So the first thing I can address is because of our rescue work it really is based on the calls for help. And we do not know that where the victim, how the next calls will be. It will be a woman in China, but also it can be a man in Cambodia, in Myanmar, and in other situations. Is come back to about how the organization can rescue them. We need a network of strong supporter who can help her to locate the victim. So that's the reason why I emphasize the importance of cooperation and partnerships with different agencies and NGO and also individuals in different countries, so that whenever the case comes, how different the case may come, we have a network to support and to rescue them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We want to say thank you so much for your participation and facilitation of this case study presentation. We truly appreciate your time and expertise that you shared with us today. Thank you so much. And so keeping, pardon, is that it? Okay. Keeping in line with the great discussions that we have been having, we are going to move right into our next panel discussion, which will be on engaging communities in anti-slavery efforts. And our moderator for this session will be Bart van Oost, who is the managing director of Cure Foundation. Bart has a very interesting background, coming from a background of finance and real estate, where he left a very successful banking career in Belgium to serve as the managing director at Cure. And Bart has done some really amazing things, including being involved in the development and operation of Rancho Ni Cristo, an aftercare shelter that provides girls rescued out of online sexual exploitation of children with a safe place to grow and heal from trauma of their past, which is really fantastic. And so over the years, Bart has provided leadership and resource mobilization needed to turn this dream of Ranch Ni Cristo from just 2 cottages to now a very thriving campus that includes 5 homes, a staff house, an on-site school, cafeteria, library, clinic, all these fantastic things. And I come from a background working with survivors of child sexual exploitation. So this makes me particularly very excited to hear about your work, Bart. And so we want to welcome you today as you lead this next very fascinating topic on engaging communities in anti-slavery efforts. So welcome, Bart.
Thank you, Giselle, for that wonderful introduction. It's such an honor to be part of this. And good afternoon to everyone. Good morning to some of you. Good evening to some of you. Here in the Philippines, it's afternoon. So to my kababayans in the Visayas and Mindanao, maayong hapon sa tanan. And welcome to our panel discussion on engaging the role of the communities in anti-slavery efforts. I'm Bart, as mentioned, and I'll be your moderator for this afternoon. We are excited for all of you to be here and to have an important conversation about the crucial role that communities play in combating modern slavery. So Free the Slaves have selected an esteemed panel of experts, 3 experts, who will share their insights and experiences with us. So before we dive into our discussion with our panelists, I'd like to briefly introduce them to all of you. We have 3 of them. And after I shortly introduce all of them, I would like to give each panelist 3 minutes, because we're short in time. So you all will be given 3 minutes to share a little bit about your work and also to talk about the topic. So I want to give you a gentle reminder to keep the 3 minutes, because I prepared a lot of questions for you that I would like to go through. I think I have 7 or 8 questions for you. So the more time we have left, the more we can answer questions and we can cover as much as ground as possible. So our panelists for today are Betokia Franklin, Executive Director of Global Shepherds in Malaysia. Secondly, we have Adhin Roy Shakya, Senior Project Coordinator of READ, Nepal. Is it READ or READ? READ?
It's READ, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, we have Dr. Banjunha Sharan Lal, Executive Director of MSEMVS in India. So I would like to start with Betosia. Betosia, you have 3 minutes to share a little bit about yourself and your work and about the topic. So the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Bart. Salam Sejahtera from Malaysia. I'm really honored to be part of this panel and to speak on an issue that's really close to my heart, which is community engagement. I'll start by sharing a little bit about the organization, Global Shepherds. We are a national agency that works on anti-trafficking in Malaysia, but also we have a presence in the region as well in terms of our work. The objective of the organization is to strengthen the safeguarding systems for women and children by improving access to basic rights, services, information through direct intervention, outreach, and capacity building. Global Shepherd is also active, and we are involved in research advocacy work, and we regularly highlight to policymakers the need for reforms on safeguarding systems. We sit in several of the national policy platforms, and we are able to bring the voices of the community that we work with to the platforms to change systems. I'd just like to share also that Global Shepherds is a trauma response organization, and we continuously and we consciously integrate the understanding of trauma throughout our programs and systems to enhance the quality and the effectiveness and the delivery of services provided to our program participants. We ensure that our staffs at all levels of the organization have a basic awareness about trauma and understand how trauma can affect lives, groups, organization, communities, as well as the individuals themselves. A little bit about our work. Global Shepherds, being a survivor-centric organization, places a strong emphasis on engaging with survivors of trafficking in a holistic and empowering manner. Our engagement approach is guided by gender response principle, as well as a rights, community, and strength-based development framework. Global Shepherd employs a 4-quadrant approach to our anti-trafficking work, and this quadrants includes quadrant 1, which is direct services. What we mean by direct services is that we manage a shelter for survivors of trafficking. We are women and children centric, so our shelter is for women and children who have been rescued from trafficking. The home offers a comprehensive case management services that focuses on recovery and restoration programs. The services include counseling, psychotherapy, skills development, and livelihood opportunities, and also includes a little bit of awareness on trafficking to prevent re-trafficking and to ensure safe return and sustainable reintegration. Yes, in brief. The second quadrant of the 4-quadrant is community outreach and engagement. Through community outreach initiatives, Global Shepherd raises awareness and trafficking, fostering a sense of responsibility within communities to combat the issue collectively. We work with vulnerable communities, especially the migrants and youths, to promote awareness on trafficking, and we use suitable awareness materials that are co-designed with the communities. We incorporate the voice of survivors in all our awareness programs. We are privileged because we hear a lot of stories through the work that we do in case management, and we seek permission, and we are able to use the voices and the experience of the women to develop our programs in the community. The stories of the lived experience and valued lessons from survivors' experience forms the foundation for the key messages that we deliver in our anti-trafficking awareness programs. Our third quadrant is the capacity building and training quadrant. The organization is very actively involved in training of various stakeholders, mainly the enforcement and the law agencies. We focus on trauma-informed approaches. We try to incorporate and increase the understanding of trauma, especially the manifestation of trauma in survivors of trafficking. And we try to develop sensitivity and an understanding of an approach on how to work with survivors of trafficking using the lens of trauma. Our aim when we do this is mainly to sensitize the systems to recognize trauma manifestation and to create a safer space for survivors who are seeking assistance. It's also to build the level of trust in the system. So we use the trauma-informed application. And the 4th quadrant, where we see a lot of case studies through our case management, where we do a lot of engagement in the community and where we do capacity building. We also recognize.
Thank you, Betokia, for sharing that very insightful information with us. Next, I would like to ask Adhi to share with us. You have 3 minutes to share about yourself and about your organization and about the topic that we're discussing today. So the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Thank you. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to represent READ in such a huge forum. First of all, please accept my namaste from Nepal. My name is Adin Rasakya, and I'm currently leading the Safe Migration Navigator program at READ Nepal. And I'm also responsible for maintaining the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness in all the project interventions that we have been doing and within the organization as well. So READ stands for its Rural Education and Development. And primarily our work involves facilitating the creation of self-sustaining and community-led community library and resource center that serve as a foundational platform for unlocking a community's social and economic potential. So currently we have 74 such READ centers, which we call CLRCs in short. Those are in 43 districts of Nepal, and those act as a safe space for all community members. So, there's a difference between our, when we hear the word library and our community library resource center, is that when we talk about our traditional library, we always think about books and where we can go and read and come back, or we can borrow some books and do things like stuff like that. But when we talk about READ CLRs, the library section is just a part of our community library resource center. So we also have women's section where women gather and conduct their community works. We also have children's section where children before and after school can come and have their enjoyable time while they are not studying. Similarly, we have youth section, we have ICT section, and we have disaster risk management section where we lead the community activities through those sections. So all of these sections are in each and every of our community library resource centers. And also, we believe that it is very essential for the community to have a very safe space where everybody can feel ownership, where they feel belong to. So that when in times of trouble or when in times of any discussion, they can go to the safe space and carry out their activities. So in the thematic area that we have been discussing today, READ has been working in anti-slavery efforts through different programs, directly and indirectly, since 1991. But since 2018, it has been implementing projects on modern slavery, and that was in partnership with the Free the Slaves as well. And since 2018, it's been working in labor migration in partnership with IREX and People Forum. And we are also working with bonded laborers at the Big Cleans and with the Humanity United. So our work mostly revolves around prevention. We usually use in the prevention practice by helping the target groups by building the choices. So we rather build choices, and we help them build their capacity so that they can decide on their own whether they want to choose any of the path they want to choose. So we have also been collaborating with People Forum in the prosecution for the safe migration migrant workers. And we are also extending ourselves in the protection for day as well. So I look forward to a productive discussion with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adin. You did very well with the time. Thank you so much for trying very hard to stay within our time frame. Sometimes it's very hard, I know, because when I'm speaking, I just keep going. But thank you so much for at least trying. You both did a great job. So last but not the least, we have Dr. Banjuha Sharlal, who will share a little bit about his work and about the topic of today. So Dr. Lal, go ahead. You have your 3 minutes to share with us.
Thank you, Bart. I'm very honored to be in this important panel, and I would like to my sincere thanks to Free the Slaves to give me this opportunity to be a panelist in this discussion. MSNBS is based in North India and helping the communities for 3 decades. MSNBS basically making people able to challenge the causes of human trafficking and modern day slavery. Our focuses are not only empowering the vulnerable communities and victims to prevent themselves from trap of human trafficking, but we empower people in a way they are able to support others who are at the risk of human trafficking or the victims of human trafficking. MSMBS support the communities through education, health, livelihood, safe migration, and we make effort to link them with the government social security schemes by complementing government services in remote and vulnerable areas. MSMBS runs aftercare services to the survivors like trauma and mental care, rehabilitation measures, reintegration in the society they are from, and leadership building of the community leaders and survivors. In leadership building, MSMBS has established and supported more than 700 community vigilance committees in 700 villages. In order to engaging the communities to be vocal and active on anti-trafficking issues, we have also engaged the survivors collective in all our anti-trafficking efforts. The community engagement through community vigilance committees are significantly able to prevent people from trafficking and bonded labor through public awareness on risk and rights related to the trafficking, know how to migrate for work safely, and what to do if they suspect trafficking, confront domestic violence, and resolve family disputes, understand and reject manipulation through debt bondage. So all these efforts make the communities strengthen and make community strong to challenge, to dismantle the system of the society that make them debt bondage, child labor, and human trafficking victims. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bajun, for this very insightful introduction. So I hope you guys are ready for our panel discussion. I prepared about 8 questions for you. So I'll read the question and then I'll assign one of you to answer the question. And then hopefully when we have time, we can also answer some questions from our audience. Hopefully they are engaging and they are listening to our conversation. So please feel free to type your questions for us in the chat box so we can answer them at the end. So let's go to the panel discussion questions. So the first question that I have, I will ask Batosha, what role does community mobilization play in combating modern slavery? Why is it essential for communities to come together to fight modern slavery? What's your insight for us?
I think communities are the first line of defense. They play a very key and essential role, as very rightfully said, shared by the 2 panelists. It's through the community engagement that we understand how to work with communities and what are the unique ways of working with communities to support preventive programs. I mean, communities are vulnerable if they are not aware of what's happening in the surrounding and do not have the right tools and the right information to make right decisions. So to be able to provide support as a catalyst and to promote community resilience, stronger community engagement with a strength-based approach is really essential.
Thank you so much for that very insightful answer. I agree 100%. Does any one of our panelists want to add to this, or should we go to our next question?
Yeah, yes, but I would like to just say here, as other panelists said, I want to add in that slavery issues are very complex and it linked with other socio-economical, cultural, and legal and political issues as well. There are several approaches that may needed to address the slavery issues. The communities are equally important stakeholder as the government, policymakers, and the educators. As per our experience, we have realized that only CSOs and government agencies are not enough competent to deal the issues. it is the communities who can play a vital role in prevention, protection, and rehabilitation of the victim of the human trafficking. The safety nets for vulnerable communities and victims are only possible with the community engagement. Yes.
Thank you for those insights. I think it's clear to all of us that community mobilization is foundational. It's very important for all of us in the fight against modern slavery. So the second question I would like to ask Adhin, can you share some of the effective strategies or approaches that you have used to engage local communities in your efforts? Sometimes it's hard to engage in the local community. So do you have any strategies or approaches to share with us how to reach the local community?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Bart. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of very difficult to have a fixed approach or same approach doesn't work in every communities. However, we have been able to do it effectively in our experience by doing the simple bottom to top approach, where we mobilize the community members even during the foundation of the building. When we have the primary discussion, we involve all the community members from all the caste, culture, socioeconomic background, so that everybody feels that they own it, so that they own the project, so that they own the space that they are going to have it. And for the projects, we always opt for the human-centered design because it has the nail in the coffin, because it's very pinpoint, and like we did with the bricklayer workers, we adopted so many opportunities. We had that discussion with them, and every problem and the solution that came was from them as well, because they identified their own problems. They came up with the solution. We just stayed in that background and we just facilitated that. So I think that is very important. And another is, while doing so, we also need to educate and aware them about their rights, about what they have to do, about how to mobilize other people in the community, so that other also have ownership about that as well. And another one is like we have to partner with the local leaders. That's very important because the leaders belong to the whole community and not to the specific group. But sometimes when we bring some projects or we have a program, it's for a specific community. It could be a part of inclusion as well. So I think it's very essential to have the partnership with the local leaders as well. And we mobilize a lot of media so that the word of mouth or the word of the media persons go to every one of them. I think these are some of our effective strategies that have worked since a few decades of our work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adhin. Those are some very good insights and I appreciate them. Bitosia, do you have anything to add to effective strategies or approaches to engage with the local community?
Yeah, I totally agree with Adim in terms of consultation from the onset, not coming in, bringing in our expertise, but recognizing that community also has their own resilience, their own ability to protect themselves. Community mechanisms are already available within the community. So coming in with really an open mind, recognizing that communities have strength, and trying to identify where those strengths are and how we can strengthen those strengths instead of bringing in new ideas. That's one area that we have seen worked quite well, and it's been effective in communities, especially vulnerable communities, especially in the empowerment process. The other one is recognizing the uniqueness of each community. It's a not one fit model, but each community is unique in its own, and we need to start the whole process of consultation when you work with different communities, different age, different gender, different diversity. So looking at applying those principles when you work with the communities. So these are the two that I wanted to add on.
Thank you so much. That's correct. I can see that Dr. Banjula is very excited to also give his answer, but I have another question for him if he doesn't mind. I have a third question for him that I want him to answer. That's, what are some of the common challenges you face when you try to mobilize communities against slavery, and how can you overcome those challenges? We all know it's sometimes very challenging to work with communities. So Dr. Banjul, just share your insights with us. How can you convince the local community to work with you?
Yes, but as we know, the communities are very essential component in entire anti-trafficking movement. And there are so many challenges we face in our area, in our issues. And the issues related to modern slavery are very often invisible and driven from diversified social taboos, cultural practices, and deep-rooted caste system in our society. In most of the cases, the victims and affected communities even don't realize that they are the victim or their rights are violated. The limited safety nets and hyper normalization about the issues. There are a big number of people who just see the incidences, who just know about the incidences, but no reaction. The hyper normalization about the issues like child marriage, child labor, debt bondage, forced labor. These are the major challenges in order to support the communities. It is not just the criminal justice system issue, and the criminal justice system alone can't address the issues. It needs much more attention and efforts within and beyond the legal remedies, government welfare services, and CSO services. So it is also a challenge to make the communities confront the slave owners, confront the traffickers, because sometimes they are very organized, sometimes they have very good linkages with the administration, with the political people. So all these challenges sometimes make the communities to come back in their fights. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Betosha or Adhin, do you have anything to add to this, or should we move on to the next question?
Neil, just one point to all the points that Dr. Banuja has already said, and that's really very comprehensive. Just one of the challenges that we face in our work is the long process it takes to build trust when you work with communities, especially vulnerable communities. It's a balance between funding deadlines and working with vulnerable communities. It's how do you balance it? Because without trust, we're not going to break through. So just wanted to say.
Correct. So I have an additional question for the three of you. The three of you are working in different countries. I'm a foreigner working in the Philippines. So how do cultural and social factors influence community engagement and anti-slavery efforts? And how can we ensure that initiatives that we take are culturally sensitive and inclusive? So this is something that whenever we implement a new program in the Philippines, that we have to be aware of, that what works in the US or in Europe does not necessarily work in Asia. So from your perspective, how would you answer this question? So I would like to start with Adhin, and then we go to Tasha, and then we end with Dr. Banjua.
Just wanted to say we have 3 more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
sure.
we'll
Thanks,
answer this
Mark.
question, and then we'll end with one more question.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I think every culture and every, all our communities are unique and different in their own, but, sometimes owning the idea for every one of them is kind of tough, as we discussed earlier as well. But our strategy has been like, we always seek the help of our local leaders to endorse and advocate for the anti-slavery initiatives that we are carrying out. And we also tailor the messages in the local languages with the local values and belief that they own, that they think is their own, right? So there are so many instances where we have gone with the localized idea Now, for example, we started a community with a mobile learning center where we had campaigns, right? And when they felt that that is needed for them, then they started their own, fundraising activities, and now they have their own building. And now the name of the building is from a local deity that they believe in. So that is the process we take, that we leave the solutions and their problems to themselves. We just take a backseat and we just facilitate the whole process. And of course, inclusion is very important in every kind of these actions that we take. And so inclusive participation is also very important to ensure that these initiatives are very sensitive and also inclusive as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So next, very shortly, Britosha, what would your answer be to this question? How do we cultural and social factors influence community engagement?
Very much. It influences a lot because culture and norms are really so personal to the communities. So, and also if you look at the other side of the coin, it's sometimes culture and norms that actually perpetuate trafficking and modern slavery. So it's really a challenge when you go in to be really able. It's actually not a challenge, it's actually an opportunity as much as it's a challenge to actually go in and engage, to look at what are the ways to actually have this conversation about culture norms, being sensitive about what are the practices, and being open that within these practices, there might be opportunities in its strength-based lens. So I just wanted to add that on. Thanks.
Thank you for addressing that so clearly. So lastly, Dr. Banjoha, what would your answer be? How do cultural and social factors influence community engagement? And after that, we'll go to our last question for this session.
Yeah, the other points has already come from the panelist. One thing I would like to add here, as I said, the social patterns and cultural practices like generational bondedness. People, they are working for the same family since many generations. So this is a culture, not anything economic system or any business system. And again, so many people are just work for the employers because they live on their land. So these are culturally decided, and all of these are unwritten. They are living on the land of a landlord, so they have to work for that landlord even without any wages. So these are the things. There are certain castes. They supposed to work. They supposed to serve to the upper caste. So all these social and cultural norms make sometimes the issues very complex, and very often we have to struggle with all these things within the communities, within the society. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for emphasizing the importance of cultural sensitivity. I believe it's crucial to tailor initiatives to the specific context of each community. We cannot just copy what works in one country and implement it in another country. So the last question of this session, unfortunately, we're running out of time. So the last question is for how important are education and awareness campaigns in mobilizing communities, and what methods have been most successful in raising awareness about modern slavery? So how important are education and awareness campaigns and mobilizing communities? So Britosha, I would like to ask you to answer first, a 1 to 2 minute answer, if that's possible.
Yes, it's really important. It's really self-awareness. It's understanding what our own awareness about the issue is, and then recognizing that there's an effect when we understand it, our family understands it, the community understands it, and the individual within each of this ecosystem will understand it. So really, I think education is really key in every sense, and awareness and self-awareness, beginning with that, is truly, truly really important. The other question was, what method has been most successful in raising awareness? I think there's no one set fit standard method that that we can use for every community, cross region, country, whatever. What we can do is consult, listen, active listening. When you go into the community, actively listen, understand the community, understand where their strengths are, and understand where the challenges are, and then work with that. So that would be my 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vitosha. Let's go to Adheen. How important is education and awareness campaigns?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Britisha said, and I would only like to add a few points. So some of the things that worked for us was nowadays, like, we work with a lot of school-going kids. So our school intervention program has been quite effective for a lot of communities, because they listen to their educated children as of now. So even in the case of foreign employment and safe migration, a lot of parents listen to the children, what they learn in the schools, and they have changed their behavior while they are processing for the foreign employment as well. So that worked. And another is, like, we conduct a lot of community events such as street dramas and information awareness information sessions in the communities where they're working or where they're having a good chit chat. We organize in the social community spaces where everybody can easily participate, and they don't have to come to a fixed area or fixed venue so that they can participate. So it's easier to access for them. So we go to the communities where they are doing their leisure time or they are working, and we request them to have a small window of the times to listen to the programs. And this is how we have been continuing, and it works as much as other project activities as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you to all our panelists for sharing their experiences and insights. Vitosha, Adheen, and Dr. Banjus Shaolai, we really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us and your insights with us. Your contributions have helped us to get a deeper understanding of the vital role of community that communities play in combating modern slavery. So I'd like to also thank our audience for your engagement, and let's continue this important work together. Thank you for joining us today, and let's go back to our host, Mamizel.
Thank you so much, Bart, and thank you so much to the panelists for sharing all of your fantastic wisdom. This has been amazing and a really great way for us to close up the last panel for this forum. It has been an amazing 3 days, and it's just been some great conversation. So thank you to everyone for your contributions. I'm sure we have a couple of questions from the audience, but we don't have time to answer them live. But please feel free to chat with the audience so that they can have their questions answered. So thank you so much. And so we're going to go next into our presentation. And this is a really great presentation on rebuilding life after exploitation, long-term support for survivors. This is such an important discussion for us to have. And this is going to be led by Shrena Sam, who is the country director of Haga International Cambodia. And, just reading through Ms. Sam's bio, I'm really, first of all, go social work. She has a degree in social work, which is such an amazing, it's also my background. And she has pretty much worked her way up through this organization, starting as a counselor in the foster home program, moving into the aftercare project and community group homes as the manager, and working her way all the way up to country manager. So she's coming with lots and lots of really great experience working with survivors and is able to speak on this topic. So I can think of a better person to share with us this presentation. So Shrena, we welcome you. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jibril Su from Cambodia. Did you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you and we see your presentation on the screen.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is my privilege for to share about Haga's work with the survivors. So I am Srena Som, the country director of Haga Cambodia. And this is my privilege to share the Haga's practice, what we have been working with the survivor of human trafficking, slavery, and abuse. working alongside them to restore their broken lives. So Haga has been studied in Cambodia in 1994. And later on, we expanded our program to other countries like in Vietnam and Afghanistan. Yeah, so this year we are celebrating our 30 years milestone. And we are working with the survivor of human trafficking, slavery, and abuse to restore their life through the whole journey of our trauma-informed care services. So currently we have 280 survivors in our care. Totally in 30 years, within these 30 years, we have worked with individual survivors for about 5,000 survivors. And all of our survivors we work with are caring with trauma, and many of them have severe traumatized that need intensive care. Yeah, and we have intake hotline number intake that respond to the need of the survivor.
Hi, Shrina. Sorry to interrupt, but your screen, your presentation, we're not seeing the slides being changed. If you can put it into presentation mode, if you go to the top and just click on slideshow.
Slideshow,
because we see your slides, but it's not progressing. So we just see the first page.
Giselle, Aline can present for her. It's the same problem as previous.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I stopped sharing.
Yes, and we can share for you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Please let me know which slide to go to.
Yes, please go to next slide, please. Yeah. Keep going. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So we have the intake hotline to respond to the need of the survivor for protection. So most of referral that we have is from government, mostly from the national ministry of the government and also sub-national level. And from January this year, we have intake 60 new survivors into our care. And most of them are from the survivor of human trafficking or exploitation from Cambodian women who have been trafficked or exploited to other countries like China. Yeah, and so case manager have worked intensively through cooperating with the relevant local authorities and also stakeholders, NGO partners, community and family from the need assessment. We're looking at what is the most need for the survivors and the service provision until the case closure after researching the impact on survivors' life to be able to live independently in their community of chosen. So first, we ensure that safety for the survivor. Yeah. So for survivors who are repatriated back to the country, or they will need a temporary stay at our home of love that we have set a community home of love that survivor can temporarily stay for 1 or 2 weeks for emotional stability, health checkup, or treatment, and also a victim they get interviewed with the national police for victim identification. And that's also time for our case manager to conduct a family tracing before the integration. So survivors care and live in a secure home environment where that is possible. But if not possible, we also have like them to stay in alternative care, like in kinship care or foster care. Yeah, we run a foster care program. We recruit a community family to be a foster family, train them so that they can care for the survivor with traumatized. So we also collaborate with A21 in Cambodia, a partnership together for in the foster care program, providing intensive care to the survivor in Siem Reap province. And also Haga, we have the client have experienced severe traumatized, and they are struggling to recover on their own. So each client is giving their own counselor that you can see the picture in here that they need healing on their mental health. So counselors are assigned to work with the survivor and into building develop a safe therapeutic relationship. And counseling is also offered to their families as well to help them understand the impact of trauma and also that have happened on their child and also to the trauma that have affected to their own life. So as part of our commitment to the holistic recovery services, Haga is committed to the provision of healthcare as part of the client's journey. Yeah. So justice here, justice is important for the survivor recovery or survivor healing. So our legal and protection team is for providing legal services to our survivor. We have Haga lawyer that provide crucial legal support to our clients who attend the local or international court proceeding, and to ensure that the family and survivor access to the legal process. And receive full support in the court proceeding. Yeah, to find justice for them. They need justice because this is helping them to heal in the process of trauma healing. And currently we have 81 survivors receiving our legal services. Yeah. And education and economic empowerment is important to the survivor's future or dream. And also this also can help to minimizing an individual vulnerability and chance of re-trafficking or re-exploitation. Yeah. So most of our survivors that come to Haga's care, they have very little or no education, and often a little or no formal work experience or vocational skills. So for young survivor, we are working with the community school or school principal, families, and relevant partner to ensure that they are enrolled in school. And for young adult survivors who are not able to go back to school, then we are working with relevant like a private sector business partner to provide the services on the vocational skill. We are providing like career counseling and also on the job training, job placement to the survivor. And also we supporting them to start up their small business so that they can earn the income to support their family, to prevent the risk of re-trafficking or re-exploitation or unsafe migration. Yeah. So we work with the local business partner to provide these services for them. So currently our 30 survivors have secure in their employment, where the 191 survivors have started their own business. So yeah, our case manager, we have regularly follow up with the survivor and family, with cooperate with the local authority to ensure that they have safety and resilience of restoration to be graduated from our services. So from January this year, we have 66 survivors have been successfully closed from the services. Yeah, so, and the survivor here, like you see, they are not just healing or resilient or stand by themselves alone, but they also when they are independent, they also have opportunity to speak, to do something for their own community. So they can involve in our program, that they can have opportunity to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, or helping involving with the prevention in their community from the issue of human trafficking or abuse, through joining the Survivor Leadership Program, Haga Survivor Leadership Program, that empower them to be a leader of their own community. So we are gathering survivor alumni, those who have been close from our services, like for 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, almost 30 years. They come back and join together in the alumni and start a survivor leadership to do something for their own community. So yeah, they are here and they want to give back to their own community by involving in the prevention work and awareness raising, working also involving with the local government and churches and also authority that raise this prevention or awareness in community as well as at school by working with partners at the community. So thousands of survivors have come through Haga services in recovery. And I would just like, can you go to the next slide, please? I would just like to see only like maybe 10 or 11, 12 survivors they are representative of the survivor that we have been working with. So you see that they come back and give back to the community to protect others. Like they are now a counselor of they're providing healing to other survivors. A girl who trafficked and now she become a case manager. Yeah, they become a doctor. Yeah, and also engineer. We have a survivor also now been our driver for more than 10 years. And also they are working at the mechanic, or they are teachers or studying at law to become a lawyer. When we asked her, why you want to be a lawyer? They said that because I want to find justice for the victim who have experience like me. Now I am independent. I want to help them. And we have survivors who are engineer, and also one survivor also currently studying at the Bible school and Christian ministry. And we have a survivor also, a Miss Grand Cambodia in 2022 as well. Yeah, and survivor who are working with us at Haga office as a program assistant and also Haga accountant. So currently we have 6 survivors that come back to join Haga as a Haga staff with potential to help others, and also many hundreds and thousands of survivors who are working and doing their own business in the community of helping others. So seeing their growth, this is why they have long-term care for sustainability, is to see their lives have been changed, not just to change, to heal, but they also can help others. This is kind of the whole journey of Haga services, that taking time, but there's the quality in people's life. No matter how that they're broken, but through a good hand of help, cooperation, we can restore a broken life, and that one life will be restored and to multiple helping others' lives in the community. So can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So they are our motivation of continue our journey of working with them within these 30 years. And we are an ongoing that we are continue to see the need, the acute need of the victim in society that need our assistance, our support in their journey to be restored. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shrina. This was fantastic. Over on YouTube, where most of the students are, they had a lot of questions over the past 2 days about how we can support survivors. So I'm pretty sure your presentation was quite useful, quite helpful for them to understand the various ways that survivors are supported and what can be done in countries where this type of service may not be available. So thank you so much for sharing the wonderful work that is being done at Haga International in Cambodia. And so we are at the end of the 2024 Asia Regional Forum. And so to bring closing remarks, I would like to welcome Nicolene Zaragoza, who is a former victim of child labor and who has been profoundly transformed and empowered by the support of Voice of the Free Foundation. Today, Nicolene is proud and blessed to give back by supporting other abused girls as their house sister in the same organization. As their sister and care provider, she is dedicated to providing not just care, but compassion and love, ensuring that they feel a strong sense of belonging and empowerment. And so we could not have thought of a more fitting way to end this fantastic 3 days of the Asia Regional Forum than to have Nicolene bring closing remarks. So Nicolene, we welcome you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. I am Nicolene. Thank you so much for having me to represent the voice of the survivors. I am honored to be invited and to be involved to this important gathering of advocates against human trafficking and other forms of modern slavery. As one who has survived human trafficking, I am here with a message of hope. I am glad that various organizations and individuals came together to discuss important matters on how to eradicate human trafficking and empower the survivors and communities. We can end modern slavery by focusing on 4 important areas: strong law, working together across borders, involving communities, and listening to survivors. First, we need the strong law to protect victims and punish the traffickers. This law should help people in need and stop trafficking before it starts. Second, it's countries need to work together. Human trafficking is a global problem, like the violation of human rights that affect millions of worldwide. We need to share information and train officials to stop traffickers. We also need to work together to address the demands side. And third is communities need to be involved. Local people can help spot and report trafficking. We need to educate everyone to recognize and act against trafficking. Schools, local groups, and churches can create safe space for everyone. And as an advocate of against human trafficking, I am involved in Voice of the Free prevention program called I Fight Movement, where we do awareness raising in different schools in Philippines. 4 is we need to listen to survivors. Those of us who have been through this can offer valuable insight to shape better policies and support systems. Our experience can guide effective strategies and help others in a similar situations. Also, we have a group called the Buklodlaya or United and Free, a support group for a victim and the survivors that envision a safe and open group toward to improve empowerment and freedom for slavery and exploitation. We are actively involved from slavery and exploitation. We are advocacy of Voice of the Free as we have first-hand knowledge of trafficking, operation, tactics, and experience of the victims. Eradicating modern slavery demands a multiple-faceted approach, strong legislative framework, coordinated borders efforts, technological innovation, active involvement of survivors group, and active community engagement are the pillars that will support our missions. As we move forward, let us remember that every action counts, every voice matters, and together we can create a world where freedom is not just a privilege, but in a right for all. And I also encourage you all to support survivors' lead initiative and organizations. There are many ways to get involved and make difference. And also, survivors are not just a victim. We are leaders, we are advocates, and we are change makers. And together, we can make a real impact in the fight of trafficking. So before I end, in behalf of the organizer of this forum, I would like to thank my co-members of committee for giving their expertise and a valuable time to form an agenda and discussion for this forum. Mr. Ritzley of Balaod, Mindanao, thank you. Ms. Tuy of Hagar International, Dr. Banuha of MSE MBS, Mr. Hassan of Barak, Ms. Tamang of Shanti Foundation, and Ms. Adhikari of Shanti Foundation Survivors Network. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Nicolene, and thank you, everyone. We wish you all the best, and we look forward to joining again for the next installment of the Asia Regional Freedom from Slavery Forum. Hopefully, we get to see each other in person the next time around. And we also have the Global Freedom from Slavery Forum, which will be held in 2025. So please look out for more information on that. And you should be receiving an evaluation on this forum. You will get it tomorrow. We truly encourage you to please complete those evaluations because it's very helpful to us. It helps us in planning, not just this forum, but the other forums that we have. This is the 6th of 7 forums that we're having this year alone. And so we use this information to feed into ensuring that we are continuously improving. So please look out for that. And otherwise, thank you so much. Kuldeep, is there anything that you want to say before we go?
No, Giselle, thank you, everyone. You said it all. Thank you, everyone, for participating. We look forward to having you again in the next edition of the forum. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.